Well, we're back! Hello everyone, salutations and welcome to another director's commentary. And as always, I forget to turn the music down before I start speaking, so let's get that volume down a little bit, make it a little easier for you all to hear us. How are we all doing today? I hope well.
Yay.
Good.
All good.
Yay.
Yay! This is going to be a slightly more technically heavy director's commentary, so if you have been asking questions like, how do we do it? How do we stay sane? And how do we not overwork ourselves? Well, this isn't the right stream. But if you want to know how we manage to pump out the episodes at a reasonable pace, well, this is the stream. But I'm getting a bit ahead of myself. There's an episode to view. We've got several hours to discuss, but we can't have a director's commentary without people to commentate with. So working my way from I'll work my way from right to left in this way it's on the screen. So up first, Shannon, please introduce yourself.
Hello, I am Shannon Evans, also known as Silver Feathers. I am the team leader for the Riggers, and did quite a few rigs for the past few episodes, including this one.
And at the time, you were also the manager for the pre-production side, so don't sell yourself short on that one. Don't sell yourself short there. But yes, lots of awesome. There's a new character in this one, as you all will know. So we get to talk a bit more about that. So your insight into the rig creation process will be invaluable.
Indeed.
Up next, Connor.
Yo, what up? I'm Connor. I work on the automation and video editors team, as well as the now newly created dedicated renderer role. Since we're using a new process to render episodes, as you may have noticed, there are new visual effects with text box blur and lighting. So I code all the things used to create episodes, if not all, then most of them, and I also help video edit scenes for episodes.
Now, for anyone who's not into coding, that may just sound like a fair bit of jargony stuff, but in reality, the impact is undeniable. And I know you'll have a lot that you want to divulge, and I'm sure Soundman will be dragging a lot of your pain and frustration through the creation process of these scripts and automation pipelines and rendering pipeline even as well. So looking forward to hearing how it all went and any insights you can give as well.
It's hard. You got to be patient, and you have to have a lot of dedication.
Ain't that the truth? Up next, we have James.
Hello, this is James. Also go by Jmboote, but I prefer James. It's more personal. I'm one of the writers. I also help with the OST arrangement, and as of Case 3, I've been doing the court record along with Noel, who is, I think, the team leader of the still and evidence artists.
She's the leader of the artists.
Team leader of the artists. Yes, all of them.
So yeah, we've been doing that alongside the episodes.
I must say I'm very grateful that someone has taken on the court record to assist me with that endeavour, because it is sometimes a bit of a nightmare getting all the pieces together, as well as getting all the art assets. So thank you, James, if all else, for not making just wonderful content in the writing team, for saving me a buttload of pain.
Yeah, especially because the evidence changes per episode. Like updates and things.
Oh, I need someone who's got more capacity to remember what's been said or hasn't been said, because I'm sure as heck not that person. And you're British, so thereby I can rescind some of my dishonour and shame and not feel too hard done by.
I get points just for that.
That's how you feel.
Hey, we British got to stick together. We're surrounded by Americans, and it seems a lot more French people than I expected on this team. So we're a endangered animal. Moving on next, Soundman.
What? I'm not last?
No, surprisingly, I decided to just let you go second to last, just to spite you.
Hello, I'm the Soundman. I work as the assistant director. I also do automation And for this director's commentary, I'll be talking mainly about the evolution of automation on this team, how it started out, how it's been going. I'll talk about how automation has enabled us to rapidly develop episodes far beyond what we were originally capable of. I'll talk about how it's enabled us to achieve higher quality standards, how it's just been a wonderful thing. And I will absolutely be shilling some of Connor's new technology, because this man, I have a great deal of respect for him and some of the work that he's put into this. It's truly amazing.
And it's great. I can't wait to hear you all talk about it whilst I sip multiple bottles of vodka to try and make sense of the whole thing, because looking at any of the coding you send my way, I'm always terrified. I get existential dread reading it, but it works, I think. Well, you can tell us if it works or
Oh,
not.
it works.
And finally, bringing up the rear, but by no means least, Cadet.
That was interestingly worded.
I was being the traditional last but not least, but I just did it in the British G way. What can I say except...
Oh boy.
Oh, yes.
Those Brits.
Hi, I'm CadetRedShirt, or Cadet for short. I'm a voice actor for Sonata and Applejack. Let's see. And on the team, I'm also a concept artist at the moment.
In fact, she did some work for this episode.
I did, and we're going to talk about it as we go. Yeah. So.
Some great contributions. No, I think you summed it up perfectly. Some great contributions in both the voice acting and in the artistic department. So, yeah, looking forward to hearing your insight again into the creation of those assets. So, and for everybody who, doesn't remember, obviously, G, director, and the one who is going to be, as I say, sipping copious amounts of vodka and Fanta together as Soundman talks about automation, because, as I say, I don't know if I want to... It will make more sense to me if I'm slightly tipsy, I promise. But
It will.
my self-esteem towards coding languages aside, we're going to get cracking on with the episode. So let's drown out that music and let's get into this episode. Oh, actually, no, just before we do get into the episode, I should say, usually these episodes have some form of like literary slash, the title, I should say, sorry, has some form of literary and or significance. Obviously, this one is pretty standard, I think. A Gleam of Uncertainty. It is literally just in reference to the new character who appears in this episode. Nothing fancy this time. But next time I get Jarvion, I'm sure the next episode, whenever that will be, there'll be some sort of ye olde and Englishy type of thing that has been baked into an episode title somehow. But we'll wait and see. I think the next one's only one word, though, so it's not much to talk about there.
Yeah.
But we're not there for that. We're here for a Gleam of Uncertainty. So yes, without further ado, let's begin. And the title card, I remember saying to Soundman, wait, do we have a title card still? Or was something getting confused with the previously on one the rendering was going? I'm sorry, Soundman. I was stupid.
This is why I'm the assistant director.
I just feel like I'm cursed, you know?
What are you talking about?
Nearly every case I've taken has gone wrong.
You got
in
rid of
some
the
way
text box
before
where
I even
does it
hit
I
was-
was waiting it. I was
Painful.
waiting for you to say
Is
that.
that so? You sure you're
Turn the
not
volume down a little bit.
exaggerating just a
make it
bit?
easier. Oops.
I'm sure one of my clients.
It would
even
not have
speak
been
English,
impossible to do
and
it,
another
but
was
with
so sheltered, she was
courtroom
practically
episodes coming up and I realized how much they occlude the desk, I was like, well, this is sunk cost fallacy. It's not having to be blurred.
No, it's just because. Well,
So this
I
whole
think it was
aspect
smart.
look
of
at what's happened now.
Apollo having horrendous luck is something that I only actually realised until we were doing this episode, that being delayed so much really does kind of fit along with
Rarity, after all.
how bad he's had it up until this point.
He poor Apollo. He is just always the butt of the jokes. When something smells, it's not the butts, it's Apollo.
Crown upside down.
We know about being
I'd
delayed.
like to start turning this case upside down. But here we are. Fine.
Defense attorney. Your
There
client
is
coming out now.
Solia, if I remember correctly, for the guard.
Solia.
Yep, Solia.
Finally, progress.
Always cracking out a wonderful supporting role here and there. And here is Rarity.
Oh, Rarity. Rarity.
You want to pause here, or do you want to keep going for a little bit and show off a bit
yes.
more? Okay, I'll wait until Rarity appears on screen again, and we'll pause here because well, she was for a second, and now it's Applejack.
That's Applejack.
Now it's Rarity. Right.
There we
Okay.
go. There she is.
So, okay, dear Shannon, tell us then. What hell did you have to endure? Or more specifically, I suppose in this case it was you and MV and the rest of the rig.
Oh yes. I alluded to this in the pre-premiere, but to understand the woes related to Rarity, one must understand how these rigs are put together. So, the beginning of the process starts with making a turnaround symbol. And I sent a reference to Yuji that should be appearing relatively soon.
It will do if I don't have a fight with Adobe. Not Adobe. No, wait, sorry. OAPS, sorry. Continue though.
Okay, yes. So, what a turnaround symbol is, this is basically a symbol within the FLA file where we have all of the angles. Yes, there it is. There's an example of a turnaround. Say hello to Trixie.
As she
But
spins.
yes, we more or less do all of these angles, and the reason we do so many angles is for the sake of poses. So that way, if the concept artists make a 3/4 angle pose or a pose that's from the side, we have the angle to basically build the pose from. So the thing about Rarity is that for whatever reason, and no one knows how this happened, but she does not have a turnaround. Period. She had the parts for her turnaround, but there was no turnaround symbol. So poor MV had to make it from scratch.
Which I can imagine is quite painful.
Oh, it's
It's
very
like Jigsaw.
yeah.
So it's like at minimum 40 pieces just for the parts that we see.
Yeah. And the thing is, it's not just for front 3/4, 5/8, 7/8 side, and then back. You also got to do the other side. It's a 360 turnaround.
Did you have to reconstruct the face?
Well, yeah, the face too.
Yay.
Everything. Absolutely everything. And the small snippets I get to see from the sort of finalization process probably don't speak to the volumes of manpower hours that need to be put into just getting it to a stage where it's viewable. So,
Yeah. Not to mention, with her now being a suspect, we also had to contend with, oh yeah, she also needs to have the suppression ring as well.
Yes. We don't overcomplicate things when, within the rigging department. It is not the most, it is the most, what's the term? Calm, relaxing, enjoyable team.
I have many regrets.
And props to MV for
But,
getting it done, but at the same time, I am so sorry.
Right. Yes. Well, although MV doesn't do any actual full work anymore on the series, he got his he got the special thanks position for this episode as a testament to the hard work he put in for the rig. So, yes, thank you, MV, for all the hard work that was put into this. It has come out very, very well. You are free. Be free, my child. Run.
Yes.
Is there anything else you want to add about the hell that is Rarity's rig?
Well, the only other thing of note was just needing to add a new pose on top of the fact. And considering this is her first appearance in this, she also had to be updated to Case 3 standards. Oh boy.
Oh my goodness, you said the genie magic words.
Oh,
Time to shine.
Here we go.
Okay. I'm
All
getting
right.
a stopwatch. I'm limiting myself to 5 minutes.
Someone else time him as well, because I don't trust him.
No, it's fine. Okay. Going. So, originally I was going to try and talk chronologically about the start of automation to the end, but I guess this is really relevant to talk about case 3 standards. So there's always an interface between cases where we're not working and we're reviewing our process and we say, well, this was a terrible problem we experienced. We very much need to remedy that. So what were some of the problems with the case 2 rigs? They were very unoptimized. They were extremely slow. And when I say extremely slow, I mean lip syncing a whole file could take like 20, 40 minutes. It was so unbelievably terrible. Namely because of the rigs and how unoptimized they were. And we didn't have any tools to quantify how optimized a rig was. So in January of 2023... You're kidding me.
What's up?
It hates me.
What's gone wrong? What's gone wrong?
You hear me?
I hear
me?
you.
Yeah, we hear you.
Yeah.
I thought for a second there you absolutely lost the plot because you realized it was January 2023 when you were starting to touch up the standards, and thereby you just went into an existential
You're
crisis.
burning my time. I'm killing you. We formed a scientific workshop, and I wrote rig diagnostic tools to quantify how bad or good a rig is based on its load time and its copy time. And we did a workshop and we realized it was the heads. It's when heads are frame by frame that it increases the amount of times that the program is selecting the head, and it really increases it. So this means that for every rig that shows up in case 3, we have to reformat it so that we minimize that as much as possible. And then that's just for performance. We also went up through a quality pass. You know that the rigs now have phonetically correct lip syncing. And this is an interesting relic from case 2 era, which Connor could briefly talk about, that we had lip syncing for case 2, and the lip syncing backend actually supported all the phonemes. It's just that all phonemes were getting mapped to open or closed. So all the work that really needed to be done was remapping those to the correct phoneme mouth shapes within the rig, which we did, and our rigs now have 6 mouth shapes, 6 animations of different mouth shapes, and they all get mapped to that. Do you have anything you want to talk about with the lip syncing, Connor?
So it was a process when I saw that Athena had her very own mouth shapes, and I was searching online doing a deep dive for something called a forced alignment tool, which basically takes in a transcript and a voice line, and what it'll do is spit out a list of all the phonemes, which are basically syllables, and their timestamps within the voice line. So using that information, we can translate it to frame numbers and basically say, okay, at this frame, we're going to have her make this noise with her mouth. On this frame, we're going to have her say this with her mouth. And so by doing that, we can automate the lip syncing process to basically almost completion. It still has some hiccups, especially for high-pitched and squeaky voices. It's most apparent with characters like Sweetie Belle, Trucy, characters with squeakiness, since I suppose the model for the program we use, called Montreal Force Aligner, it's not really trained for instances like those. So
True.
we have a new strategy to counteract that.
Voice cloning for the back end.
Yeah,
All the squeaky voices become Markiplier.
exactly.
It was a
And
terrifying
that was
thing
yesterday.
when- Yeah, you sent
was
me an
yesterday.
example of this.
Yeah. We work very avidly on this, and it's telling that that just happened yesterday.
There's
Anyway,
always improvement.
I have 1 minute left to conclude this. So we did that where we have phonetically correct mouth shapes and the rigs are more performant. I have 1 minute left to talk about the blinking and the actual lip sync structure. So again, for case 2, poses just kind of started and stopped on random frame numbers, and the duration for certain mouth shapes would also vary. You could have some mouth shapes that were 7 frames, some that were 4 frames, some poses would start on frame 121, frame 76. The only way that you could ever get a consolidated lip syncing tool was to make a very large database of all the starting and stopping and duration positions for those mouth shapes per character, which we did for case 2. It was very bad. So what we did for case 3 characters is they're all the same. They all have the same 30 mouth frames per pose, which means we don't even need a database per character or per pose. It's just the same every time. And then for blinking, I have 10 seconds. It's action script. It's action script, so it's desynced from what you see in the editor. But instead of having the video editors write action script, they have have frames. They have their anchors. They use anchors that say blink, close, anim, open.
Execute at runtime.
Hey, bad Soundman. Right, that's a strike for going over your allotted 5 minutes. Disgraceful behaviour. Well done.
So close.
We'll talk more about it at the end of this scene if there's more that needs to be said. But you can tell just from the rambling of this man that there is so much thought put into this that it's actually kind of scary when you just kind of open up the black box that is this coding.
Not to mention that, just to add one final thing, they still have to work with the riggers just to make sure all the phonetic sounds look right.
Yeah. Hooked on phonics.
Right.
It's a Turnabout Storm joke.
We've dived to death the position of Rarity and how she inadvertently created the known universe within EOJ. So we will now slowly transition back to the episode and get started with some more funky case-free intrigue? Question mark?
Shenanigans.
It's like intrigue versus intrigue.
Introg?
Yeah, that's what I said.
When did you say that?
When I was talking about emphasis on... Never mind.
It's quite interesting how the text box blur has kind of gone from, "Ooh, we want this," to non-existent. And it doesn't really hurt not having it. I was worried it would, but I'm still cool without it.
I'm just sad from the fact that it had to be done, because we've never rolled back a quality change, and this was like the first time, and I try and pride myself very much on the consistent quality of the series, so even if it is for the better, it annoys me that we tried it out and it didn't work, but we tried it and it didn't work. What else could you ask?
Exactly. We're going to keep
that way
consistent
sometimes.
for Yeah. Exactly.
They said the sound is gone, by the way.
Sound? Oh,
The
no.
episode is muted.
Is
A prosecutor yet?
Is the sound still gone? Is it back now?
Is there something wrong with that?
I can hear it.
Long might not be the most accurate way
It's
of
back.
putting it, but
Okay,
it's
so
fine. Usually
this
the
is-
prosecutor
this
jumps
is
at
where-
the
So
to the
back.
defendant.
I have
That
multiple
way they
audio
can
mixer
try to
things
seek
going,
some
and I
sort
just
of
muted the
deal,
roll.
put
Apollo.
pressure on them, things like that.
We're very lucky that he's not on the audio team anymore, right?
Right, right. I need more Rapolka.
Maybe. But
This comment about the
maybe
prosecutor
not.
is quite fun. I'm not going to go into any more detail about it, but
It's
James,
like
you
this case. Nothing about it
you're
is
quite
normal.
the Ace Attorney British Encyclopedia Britannica. No, Encyclopedia Britannica. I should have said it that way.
Yeah.
What was? Is it too much to say regarding that rule, that unspoken rule about cases?
Not really, because it's kind of just been forgotten about, kind of like evidence law. It's mentioned in the first game, Rise from the Ashes, the final case, that defense attorneys technically aren't allowed to investigate until the prosecutor's finished.
No.
They don't really bring it up again after that, mostly because
Better than she was before.
I think just because Phoenix is in good with Gumshoe, so it doesn't really matter.
How is
So it's
he?
an interesting,
He's really
what's
pumped
it?
about finding
Adherence to
out
form
what
or
you're
adherence to
innocent.
law that we've followed through for case 3. So if you've been wondering that
Darwin is
question
never
about
amount of
time,
enthusiasm, that's for sure.
maybe just
As much as
re-review
I like
that
to keep
part
up
of
with small
Ace
talk,
Attorney law.
We
Just a little
are
bit.
on a bit of a timetable.
Yeah, it's
So,
just obscure law that never really gets mentioned.
Completely understand, Apollo. I believe I've warmed up enough.
So,
I think it benefits
What would
us,
you like to
though,
ask
just
me?
because
I think it'd be
they're
best to
humans
start
in
at
a
the beginning.
completely new
Give us a
place
rough
and don't have any pull.
play theater. The
oh,
play.
absolutely. They have no
Yeah.
rank. You
Yeah,
are
they have
nothing.
absolutely nothing.
You get nothing. Good day, sir.
You had the last ticket for the show, didn't
I know what that's in reference to.
Yes.
I bloody well hope so, you do. That would be depressing.
On the night of overalls.
What's fun about these detention center scenes, and I think one of the biggest concerns that we had was repeating what happened in
Can you show us
3.6, was
where
it?
exactly?
Where we just had a detention center scene go on for about 30 minutes.
Do you mean
I remember when that happened in 3.6.
3-6.
2-6. I'm so ahead of the curve right now. Sorry.
Got it.
2-6.
I was like, damn, I don't remember that.
It was a good episode.
It was a great
Oh,
episode.
frick.
Yeah.
Whoa,
Damn.
new. Oh, it's not a
Me
new
needing
episode.
to
I got
record.
tricked.
Still, it's me missing a scene.
No, but it's nice that we've managed to work the detention center segments a lot more into an actual, well, engaging part of the episode. This particular scene takes up about a quarter of the main part of the episode, not counting post credits. And it doesn't destroy your morale watching it. Where I think a lot of the criticism for 2-6 was there was like 30 minutes of talking to Weekly Bell. I think my memory is very hazy on case 2. I'm also one glass down, so it's going to get worse from here, everybody. So please do correct me if it gets wrong.
Let's go. I can start speaking for him in 10 minus 10 seconds.
Thing is, I don't have an outrageous accent, so I can't really even upsell or outperform the fact. I have once spoken very Irishly whilst drunk, and that's like the most I've ever gotten in terms of unintelligible language.
The audience reacted.
You're always unintelligible. What are you talking about?
What was that comment you said about the audio splicing? We just need someone with a modicum of intelligence to lead it. Thanks, Soundman. I appreciate it.
Not in the slightest. The stage hooves coming up the stage and trying to
I'm the monkey with the cymbals clapping. That's me whenever you talk. It makes me happy.
They were singing, even with me being in the front row. Which reminds me.
There's a lot I want to talk about that auto splicing as well when we actually have an episode where it's been a function on. But boy, howdy, what a tool as well.
I think
We'll talk about it in.
for that needs to be built up first.
Yeah, I'll spill my guts out about it in the new scene because I don't know when the next DCL appearing is, and I don't want to turn it into a tech fest every time we do one of these.
Are you sure about that? Also,
I am.
After Sweet Bell's trial,
just returning to the episode briefly. This is one of those things which I love about this case. It's not standard, so
You are to arrest the pony
But it has
suspected of
standards.
conspiring
It has
Hey, I recognize that background.
now.
Oh yeah.
Was it this or no? It's okay. It's an upcoming episode, but there was an issue with the audio files in the archive. I'll probably go into that a bit more when we get around to that episode.
We should talk about how we make flashbacks.
Right, Apollo?
That's
Oh.
right, yeah.
Flashbacks.
I don't like the sound of this.
Yeah, remember the old strat where we would just put it all into like After Effects and put a black and white filter, but now we use a new strat.
I mean,
Yeah, and it's a movie clip with a grayscale filter, and you just hypercopy and hyperpaste. The kids don't even know what that means.
Well, no, we don't do that. We convert layers to symbol, remember?
Oh, it's like that functionality in CSXFL that you haven't gotten back to me on yet.
No, it's like the thing we didn't know existed for 3 years.
We're still catching up.
This is
By the way, can we give
this is
Jared
the
a big old
automation.
smooch? Can we give
This
him
is-
a big old smooch?
Why does he need a big smooch? What's going on?
Because he texted me in DM saying he wanted to smooch, so I'm required.
It's like
Oh yeah, he shouts at me for having a muted stream.
Jared.
Jarvey.
Oh.
Anything that could be considered suspicious or incriminating. Goodness, who do the
He couldn't
police
attend
go
with us
around?
today because he was busy attending his own funeral. I hear he's running late.
Jesus,
Have you seen this letter?
Damn.
What exactly
damn!
does it say?
I wasn't aware of this. Soundman, how did you get the memo that was happening?
No.
It's the
You don't know?
third eye. I wanted to say sixth eye, but that was sixth sense. It's the third eye we all have when we sleep, and then we feel something go wrong with the project, and you wake up. We've all got that.
Everything instantly goes to shit.
It was like the day before I went on
When you have the
vacation.
chance, please ask to see it.
That was so sad, and I'm so sorry that happened.
But whatever it is,
No,
it did not
it's
come
a
from me.
miracle that I got up in the middle of the night to check on some random thing, and I happened to see that you were texting me.
Right.
I'm trying so hard to not just go on about anecdotes. There's so many automation anecdotes. He made like a change for me for making the new scene generator, and I only got around to checking it like the night before he was going on vacation and would not be available for a week. And he woke up in the middle of the night randomly, and then I forced him into a
In a cold
debugging
sweat.
You
session
discovered.
in cold sweat and kept him up for an additional hour.
Oh.
Plus 6 pushes.
Taking
How dare.
time bomb.
Well
Yeah.
done, Connor. Well done. Good show, good show.
The time bomb was before the Great Flood. It was rectifiable.
Other room? What do you mean?
Canon event.
Playwright mentioned something about overall
Fixed point in time.
room at another place he worked at.
Oh, this
It's
bloody
called
name of this
Charismatic's
business
Mayor
again.
Attic.
I want the S to be on the
It's a
mayor,
strange
but
name.
I always get
No.
it wrong.
Never heard of
I
such
know!
establishment.
I know.
Hey, surprise, Rarity.
That's the name that you have the most issue with in this case.
Someplace you'd care to know about.
I don't mind Pantomimia.
Oh, he worked
Okay.
there?
I think it's
always assumed his
well. I
role
feel like a
was his
hipster
first
critiquing
major
how
position.
some of our words are.
I still don't know what it was.
Pantomimia is a bit of a buggered word, but at least it doesn't have like an aggressive problem defining who is the possessive noun or whatever the hell the English
It's
literary term is.
charismatic. I can
don't
say this
care.
because the lore is not in the series, but charismatic is the proprietor. It's charismatic.
Uh-huh.
You think
Uh-huh.
I believe in being
Uh-huh.
after all?
This guy's ahhing me when I answer his question. This is why I don't come to these DCs.
Right?
You say, looking directly at me.
That's a marvelous idea, darling.
I do love how Apollo also gets given the short straw, as you say, James, in this entire scene. Poor Apollo.
The banter is incredible.
Never stopped us before, I guess.
It's strong. I'm glad that we've really dived into the humor element. Like, the fact that even if not all jokes land,
What day?
we do try now. There is actual comedy. May not be gold, but we're certainly bronze or silver.
Twilight mentioned going through something like that
Yeah, since we
before.
were focusing on Apollo and Trucy would actually be along, I really wanted to sort of replicate that level of banter that is in their original game.
For Groundhog Day. God bless
This is
Groundhog
the
Day.
first time I've been inspected.
I was really
by
happy
the
for that line read.
What was confusing is that some people are like, wait, didn't that happen after season 4? No, there is a recurrent episode / time-based episode in like season 2.
No,
where
yeah, I was
Twilight-
asking if it was in reference to the one before because to me, Groundhog Day would have been the constant recurrence. And in the first, it was the first season, I believe. The It's All About Time episode
Yeah.
that one was just one instance of her future self going back to tell her past self to not do something.
But it became a canon event, so I think that's why we kind of referenced it, because it became a part of the timeline. as a
Yeah,
whole.
yeah. But I mean, Twilight still could have told them about the stuff going in season 4. You know what I mean? That was why
No, no, I
that
get
was my question about it. Is I was like, is it supposed to be in reference to the season 1 because that was not a time loop necessarily. It was just, you know, going back once and coming back.
yeah, no, I get that.
Yeah.
Time is time. What was that? What's the British? What's the Doctor Who thing again? Someone remind me. Wibbly wobbly,
Timey-wimey.
Wibbly wobbly.
Yeah.
That one. Is
Really
that what
lovely
you're
time
talking
behind
about?
me.
Are you even a Brit, G?
Do you even Brit, son?
Do you like pears, G?
I do like pears actually. Pears are nice.
That's a
Kill
good
him.
reference.
Kill him.
I like them better than apples.
I hate pears.
On the pony.
James.
I love how we're being so light-hearted, but this is a scene of actual like
No, yeah,
emotional
for sure.
maturity for Rarity as well. It's like, pears. I defended my friend's honor.
I think most people struggle not to
Rarity is not my favorite pony. I think I've made this clear. Like, she's not a background pony like Applejack, but she kind of exists. But it's nice to see her have a little bit of things. And defending Rainbow Dash is always a plus in my books. God bless Rainbow Dash.
For me, I was really appreciative that
Get me out of here.
it's sort of like when you can be too selfless, too generous with people, like to the
Yeah.
detriment of yourself, and they sort of I'm assuming this was part of James's writing, was pointing out that Apollo has similar previous experience with that.
You don't need to act like
Dynamic
Yeah,
future space.
we'll get into it when Apollo says his thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, kind of.
Especially when it's a situation
Wow.
like this.
I like this music. I think this is one of the...
Yes, I'll get
What
you
is
out
it?
of here. I
I can't remember if
promise.
this is one of
Do you mean
Jarvis' custom tracks.
I'm just so
No.
worried.
I know that
It is a custom
problem
track, yeah.
it was, yeah.
You'll be
Jarvi makes a lot of
fine.
music, and I sometimes do
And
forget.
you'll be done. I'll prove it. Not just because it's my job. Not just because
Webb has been developing quite a lot as a VA, and I'd love to. I was hoping to get him on for this episode, but he just wasn't available. I'm looking forward to his performance later in the case, though, because we're working a lot more closely after this
We
episode
all
to really
believe in you,
bring it all
Rarity.
together.
Celestia's honest truth.
And that's the one
We'll
great
fight
thing
as
about
hard as
working
we
with
can to
everyone in the
make
VA
sure
team,
every pony
yourself
else
included,
follows
Cadet,
your
is
lessons
just
too.
getting the best out of
You won't
everybody,
too kind.
little by little,
Thank you again.
slowly but surely.
Seeing Rarity smile
You've seen everyone
It's
grow.
funny that you
It's really
said
great.
that.
Pause to
makes
get
her feel a
ready.
little better. It means, at the very
Oh,
least,
yes.
she
He's
now
happy,
trusts
sad,
us.
Rarity, question mark?
But
I'm not even
I
entirely sure
found
what you
most
call that
interesting
emotion.
is
Grateful?
information down. Her worry that I
teary
won't
up
get her
happy.
out of here.
I shine.
teary-eyed at
on
least.
Einstein.
The colloquial term is emotional.
Walking Wikipedia with all the X sheet names over here.
What is faith without
No,
doubt?
it's because we had to replace them in Twilight's rig like 20 times.
Oh, movie clip eye shine. See, I don't remember when we fixed the rigs, but I'll tell anyone who asks about it that I remember fixing them and then playing 5CP Train Yard on TF2, and that became my life for 2 weeks so much that I kept dreaming about it.
Was that just from the game, that scene, or did you
Yes.
guys actually like make it again? Oh, okay.
It was
Yes.
from the game, yeah.
Okay.
Gee, you're right to pause and just go back. I just want to.
Yes,
Give a
we will go
quick
back.
answer to that.
Absolutely.
Just a
We've
bit.
I'm sure that there is a lot that needs to be said. I'll just you want to pause on this part, let's. Go on,
Yeah.
James. Bring out
Yeah.
the Encyclopedia Britannica. God, putting a grayscale on a grayscale thing already really adds a lot of grey to this, right? Okay.
Yeah.
After you, my good friend.
So one thing that I wanted to do was to really get people to understand Apollo as a character, because I know what he said in 2.9 kind of pissed people off a little bit, but that's just kind of how he is. You know, he speaks his mind, and he's not afraid of saying things that may annoy people or even can come across as kind of like backstabbing almost. I mean, in his first case, he accuses his mentor of murder, and even he was kind of taken aback by it, because he doesn't really like have blind faith in people, and that's something that I want to kind of get across, and that's why this whole parallel is being drawn. That Rarity kind of doubts that Apollo can save her. Not because she doesn't believe in him, but merely just because, you know, how dire the situation is. But the fact that she was able to, you know, speak her mind, that's kind of why Apollo is a little bit proud of her in a way, because he's had to do the same thing multiple times with people that he's trusted. The main one being, you know, this whole situation in Dual Destinies, where he actually accuses Athena.
It's nice, I think, and I know you've always been a proponent of the Ace Attorney side of things a lot more than a lot of people do, and it's always, yeah, as I say, it's really good. That not only do we have you kind of champion Ace Attorney, because that's not to necessarily dig into Turnabout Storm, but it was a very MLP focused crossover.
Mhm.
I think anyone who watches that can be like, yeah, that was a brony fandom hype peak, whatever you want to call it, sort of moment where just everyone was kind of like jumping on the brony hype train. So I'm glad that we're able to explore Apollo's character, or just all the characters. I mean, I know that case too, Athena was given a lot of love, and a lot of people loved it because we looked into it. So, and your efforts in keeping us on track and champion it, even if we don't always manage to get everything right, like sometimes with poses, for example, which I know is a big bugbear, is that the Ace Attorney characters just don't always get given the same amount of fluidity. We do try.
Yeah.
It's just, I know, Shannon can speak to this a lot more than I can. It's just a nightmare to do anything Ace Attorney rig-wise, whereas ponies, whilst they are a nightmare in their own right, like Rarity, they are a controlled nightmare.
I think long as... Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, the pony rigs are a lot easier to control because the parts of the rig are segmented so that we can easily animate them. For the human characters, No. We would have to do frame by frame animation for transitions and things of that sort. The human rigs are a lot more rigid for certain. But if we had got access to the 3D models, then things would be a lot more fluid. But hey, we're dealing with Animate, so.
I think at the end of the day, as long as the characters are written correctly, as I say in air quotes, because there's some subjectivity there, but as long as they're written well, that's the main thing. Because Ace Attorney is mostly about its story anyway, so.
And that's
it's the writing that counts.
Yeah, exactly. We are a literary-based project as well as an animation, and I think we've put a lot of time and energy into the story. That is a whole nother can of worms that I'm not going to open up on this slightly more tech-heavy stream. Thanks, Soundman. But I definitely am glad that we've taken a step back, reviewed, looked at characters like Apollo, gone, how can we convey his story, his message, his journey? And as I say, I'm very glad that we've got people like yourself, James, who understand Ace Attorney, because I sure as shit don't. I love the series. I love it. But I am very much the passive consumer. So God bless you. God bless you, fellow Brit. Thank you for being here.
It's quite tricky because both Apollo and Athena are really tricky characters to write for like completely opposite reasons. Athena because not much has been done with her in general, and Apollo because any really like good character moments that involve his past, he can't say anything about them because he doesn't tell anyone until like the end of Spirit of Justice.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we've always been. This is another wonderful aspect about EOJ is that with the development of Case 3, I'm starting to feel like the fact that we're stuck between Season 4 and 5 and between Dual Destinies and Spirit of Justice, it doesn't come across as aggressively. Like, I don't feel we're constrained. But it is a problem that does rear its head here and there. And constraints are good sometimes, especially old ideas that we initially had for the series. Prudence would have been the better part of valor in those moments, but we're making progress, and
I think if it works well with Apollo because this is set so soon after the events of Dual Destinies, so like that pain and trauma is still kind of like fresh in his heart. Whereas with Athena, she's kind of moved on from that whole aspect.
Yes.
She's a lot more open, whereas Apollo is really cagey with his emotions.
And the hard part with that is that you sort of know what he's going to become, but we in our story can't fully realize that because it messes with the official... Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, so...
Timeline!
Yeah, the timeline breaks it a couple times, so...
Wibbly-wobbly, timey-wimey.
Apollo has to grow in specific ways that aren't addressed in the future games. Or in
we
past,
You have to tread carefully, basically.
Well, we do our best, but as I say, I think because of the story we're telling, it doesn't feel as constrained by those things anymore. I feel like looking at Apollo, you can take this and you can be like, this... I'm hopeful anyway that at the end of this entire series, people will go, wow, this plugged the gap in ways that Capcom didn't. Not to say I dislike or hate Capcom's narrative aspects, because I love Ace Attorney, but things do move in like really weird, wacky, fast-paced ways. Like, I think the greatest whiplash for me was just being like, I just finished Apollo Justice watching it, and then suddenly all of it, we've got like Phoenix is disbarred, now he's back to being barred again, or has the bar, and it's just like, so much is happening.
There's a lot of behind the scenes reasons that I could get into, but I won't because it's far too much.
Yeah,
it's a tech DC.
It is Soundman's and Connor's time, which I've taken up far too much of. So I'm going to get out of this wonderful moment, and we'll resume the tech. Apologies, Soundman. We've taken up all of your time. We're so bad.
And speaker mind.
I do love capturing.
This is the first time his theme plays as well.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Yeah. That hit me real hard.
Good old.
Just another minute, please. I need to ask them one more.
Yeah, he alt-tabbed in the episode.
What happened to the episode? Oops.
Oh,
there
no.
we go.
Sorry.
There you go.
Thanks for reminding me.
Fine. It's fine.
I thought that touching a different tab in Google would be fine, but no, apparently that's a bad thing to do.
idea.
To be fair, I was warned to get a second screen, so I did, so my fault.
Exactly getting along. Having the two of them around each other is
That was where that voice line I had, the blooper thing.
Oh,
Mr. G.
Hold on. Let me go back. Let me go back then. So, yeah, I think this will work. But you sent in a small. What is this?
A very small thing. So
very
for
small thing.
context, I had allergies a lot recording these. I have really bad allergies anyway, but there were quite a few lines during this that I felt extremely proud of. Like, really proud of sounding, like, I would say relatively close to Applejack in the show. And this was one of them, was the hang on a minute there, Rares thing. And the blooper I had for it was just really funny because it struck me while I was reading the script.
Let's see.
So that was the one that yeah.
Let's see if I can get this to work. Hold on, I'm just going to mute this and then see what happens.
Hang on a minute there, Rares. I'm not sure that's a good idea.
Sometimes it does just sound like Applejack, doesn't it? Oh, God.
There we go. It does. It does. I see what you mean.
Thank you. Yeah.
It is great.
There were more than one in this scene specifically, and I was like, God, I'm so happy with that. I've never been this happy with my voice lines working so well. Like,
no, but it's good. And that's the thing, is that the development for, as I said before, the development for all of you in the VA team is always a pleasure. Just getting that little bit more. So if you feel like you're getting closer rather than getting further away, that's a good thing. That's positive. Anything else to add on regards to that?
Oh, I guess. Well, I just really appreciate that Applejack has like some pretty good writing in a lot of these scenes as well. Even if she is sort of just like moving the story, she'll add like little quips that I'm like, yeah, of course she would say something here. Like, it makes sense. So I'm really happy with that too.
How do I say this without?
And there was like another thing in regards to Rarity having like her being too selfless moment. It's interesting to me that was a moment Applejack didn't say anything, because she sort of suffers with that also. Like, she suffers with not necessarily people pleasing, but like thinking that she can do something by herself, even though she might need someone else at the end of it. She acts as like the big sister of the main six a lot of the time, helping other people do things, or other ponies do things, instead of, requesting help with her. And that's gone back since season 1. She's had that issue throughout, which it makes sense. Like, thinking that, you're able to handle things when you've been treated as the person people go to for their problems. And I'm like, it's nice that Apollo's the one that obviously spoke up there. Because Applejack does suffer from that as well. And Rarity had a moment of that where she's like, well, I don't want to let my client down. Well, Rainbow Dash, just because she said something mean about my sister doesn't mean that I hate her or won't immediately forgive her for it. You know what I mean? And I'm like, But yeah, I like the writing for that, which was good. And allergies suck. That's the other thing I wanted to add. I'm currently experiencing some again.
Anything you want to add, James?
Sorry, I was looking at the stream chat. I don't know if we're answering questions or reading that as well.
We'll get to the questions shortly because we're near the end of this scene. We're about 2 or so minutes off.
Cool.
So, any questions? Yeah, just save until the end of the scene. Anything to quickly add about like Applejack's writing, James? I know you're more encyclopedia Eternia, but is there anything MLP wise that you like to throw in? Because I can't remember which scene did you write for this episode.
I think because this is going back a while, so I won't say which episode we're on now, but this is quite a while back. I think it was this scene that I wrote.
Jarvie said he first drafted scene 1.
We'll go hunting in the production schedule
James
1 second and save you.
James first drafted scene 1.
I got confused there for a second. Yeah. It was this scene that I wrote for the first draft.
Yeah.
So thank you, James.
There you go, James. You've got MLP and Ace Attorney street cred. Congratulations, you are the full pack. I should shout out as well, like some of the new writers that's been mentioned before, but like Evan and Brandon, both of them.
Yeah.
To their scenes. So
yeah,
it is a team.
That's a good point. It's not just me and Jared. It's Evan and Random as well. They're doing really well.
Aim to bring them on, especially Evan, because there is a episode which I believe Evan's taken charge of, or will be taking charge of in the near future. I think maybe. So definitely good to get.
As far as I know, yes.
But yeah, Applejack has character writing, and also allergies are not fun. Well, 100% right there. I don't suffer from them as much anymore myself, Cadet, but I did at one point. Not fun, especially cat.
It'll come back, unfortunately.
Yay!
Send one of them home?
This is not a pause moment, but this discussion was quite an interesting one. The decision between Spike and Sweetie Belle.
I'm a little worried, poor dear.
I don't know what ultimately drove us to go with Sweetie Belle, but and I don't know if you remember, James. I don't.
Even if he doesn't do
Personally, I think it was just because Spike wasn't as prevalent in Case 2, and it makes a lot more sense for him to be a bit more demanding to, pursue helping Rarity, because Sweetie Belle's not in the best state at the moment.
True. I mean, it's led to some very positive, writing opportunities as Connor and some of the Bonds of Justice. But there are benefits from that decision.
No, it ain't. But what about this whole thing?
It is interesting. There was no real, as they say here, you got to cut your losses somewhere, and truthfully, we couldn't get into a moral dilemma for 10 more minutes about whether Spike or Sweetie Belle was the best option.
Yeah.
So, bye-bye, Sweetie Belle. Nobody wants to be friends with a blackmailer.
Then it's settled.
It's kind of interesting because this meant that their profiles need to be changed, or Sweetie Belle's profile need to be changed from this point on, because she's not with them anymore. So she's gone back home.
You better get on that, James. Responsible for them, as you've admitted, so it's on your head if you forget.
Yeah, that's one thing that I've been doing is having more, I guess, unique profiles, especially from Apollo's side. He inserts his opinion into them quite a bit.
He does. It is quite good, and I love playing a little bit of ARG with everyone regarding the profiles. That is definitely one of the more sort of fun things. You've had to rein me back a few times, and I hate you for it. Your input's always welcome. But yeah, so that's scene 1. A bit of a brief note because I didn't mention it at the beginning of the scene. We put a pun in the scene name, and no one spotted it, and no one's commented on it. I'm very disappointed. The scene was titled Diamond in the Rough, and rough obviously being spelt like a dog woof, because, Rarity's in the doghouse, so very very sad that no one clapped onto that, but hey, sometimes ingenuity is never... sometimes ingenuity is never appreciated. But that's the end of scene 1. So we'll take some questions. Anyone from my team who is in the looking at the stream, if anyone's got any questions, drop them. If anyone's got anything final they want to add about scene 1, also is now the time to mention. I'm going to refill my vodka.
I have to listen to the episode scenes a lot to do everything. So I've heard this one like at least 30 times. I'm pretty happy never looking at this scene again.
Are you desensitized to our voices? The
Yes.
Voice actor voices?
Yes.
Oh no.
Which scene? The previous one or this
Can be a bit much.
Well, all of them, but normally the first scene of every episode is the one that you hear a lot because it's the first one. It's the one that you default to for testing.
one?
Mm.
Truth nuke.
I think it was the first one that was completed as well, or it was near complete.
Yeah. And I had to master it, so that means I had to splice it, had to automate it, had to polish it, had to master it. So yeah, 30 times.
You love the audio, though. You are the sound man.
Mr.
Comment withheld.
He will not make a comment without his lawyer present. Any questions from the chat? Has anyone spotted any, or are we good to move on to scene 2? We are an hour
So
into the
far, how is Sweetie Belle doing? Are they okay?
Find out in 2 months. That's my answer.
That depends what you mean by okay, I suppose.
2 months.
Yeah,
2 months.
yeah, that's true.
2 months. 2 months is the answer to that question, so find out in 2 months. Anything else, or we'll move on to scene 2?
Hold on. I'm doing a little scroll.
Thank you,
Jarvie
Cadet.
said that he didn't make the parallel until just now when I was talking about AJ and Rarity's like selflessness. So
There you go. Unintentional ingenuity.
I have a 1-up.
You have outbested the team leader of the writers. Huzzah!
Let's see. And then there's also, I would like to ask about how the Apollo Rarity dynamic has been planned out / written. It's a story pairing I have grown to like a lot as the series has progressed.
I think the first instance of it, if I'm not mistaken, was the detention center scene in case 2, where I think it was where Rarity sort of compliments Apollo, and he's a bit like awkward about it. You know, some people took that as a shipping moment. That was just pure foreshadowing for the fact that he will eventually defend her. But yeah, because we knew from, I think as early as back as the ending of Case 1 that Rarity would end up, you know, in the doghouse, as G said. And when we decided that Athena would lead Case 2, that obviously meant that Apollo would be for Case 3. So it's been planned to an extent, but we've just kind of gone along with it for the most part, which is kind of how you have to do with these things. Just sort of build on it as you go.
Question about making character animations. That smells like a Shannon question.
Oh, Shannon.
All right. So for making animations, it ultimately
how
depends.
long?
There's idle animation, and then we have what is referred to as transitionals. These are the animations that play as the characters go between one pose to another. So how that works is we start with either neutral pose. This will be either neutral happy or just plain neutral, and then the end pose. And so how this works is you copy and paste the appropriate neutral pose, add 5 frames, then you paste the end pose, which can be any of the designated poses, and then you just make an animation that fits the character that goes from one pose to the other. In essence, you are given a point A and a point B, and now you have to build the road. That's the simplest way to put it.
Whoa. That's like my favorite game, The Long Drive.
That's your favorite game?
It's a good game. I got 1,000 miles in it, even though the road itself is 5,000 miles.
Yeah.
Did you ever play it?
Yes.
I like it. I'm totally not making small talk.
With that said, with how we are structuring the rigs, the only limitation is that it needs to be less than 100 frames long.
Yeah.
And that is, I can imagine a little bit of a pain sometimes. We're going to get on to scene 2 because we've already gone for an hour, and I don't want to be here forever.
7 hour DC, let's go!
Oh, yeah! I'm down if you're the game. I love being here all day, every day.
Oh my gosh, Mr. G.
And then this is going to become a hybrid Austin Powers reaction video.
This man, he keeps telling me to watch Austin Powers with him, but he's never available. He's never available on Thursdays.
You're never available!
I am available! What are you talking about?
What is it, Spike?
Alright, bet. Once we finish this, Austin Powers.
Yeah, alright, fine. I'm going to have to watch it on my laptop, though.
That's how you do it. You get him in front of a live audience, you say you're never available. He says, no, I'm always available. And then
I'm available on a Thursday, thank you.
You've
Thank
had
you.
him.
Thank you very
Do
much.
this. It's fine if you wait outside.
Oh, Spike.
You can still help with the rest of the
Spike is great in the scene. I'm glad he actually makes... We make Spike likable to me. I didn't dislike Spike, but I never understood his purpose in the main
I
series.
relate a lot to him. And this is weird from me, a person who doesn't have siblings in the normal sense, but I've always seen Spike as a little brother figure. Like, he comes out in cute ways, he's very helpful, and he's pretty mature for his age.
Yeah.
I
mean,
like him.
You've got to be mature in some capacity when you're dealing with A, a princess of the realm, and B, a pretty neurotic mess sometimes, to put it lightly for Twilight.
Oh, yeah.
We forget how perturbing they can be.
Also this reality moment from Apollo about just, wow, yeah, people are dead. It's kind of scary for people. Like, we kind of, what's the term, devalue or
Take it for granted, I suppose.
That, people die, and that can be pretty terrifying. That can be pretty destructive.
It was PPW who made these Spike poses. Bless be her.
Oh, yeah. She did a lot of these newer poses.
It's not like everyone has forgotten him, right?
I also,
It doesn't matter.
this was a little polished note I put in, but I wanted Trucy to be holding on to this sadness pose for a longer. Initially, she was a bit more kind of like return to normal, but
In a way,
it's nicer to just show that there is a heart for a lot of these characters, especially with the limited amount of poses we have. It's small things like that that really matter. And it's also why I do sympathise with you, James, about lack of sometimes poses, but we can make a lot happen.
Yeah.
Even with less.
I agree with that polish note, because Apollo was referring to Clay, and Trucy obviously knows that.
Yeah. I will
Makes a
say,
lot of sense.
though, I did assist with some of Spike's poses, specifically when he goes shad.
for now,
He goes shadows. I love his deflated look as well. It's like, wow, what a deflation.
I love the art.
Cannon pose. It's a cannon pose.
I love how everything came out for this scene.
There's been instances where it deflate.
It seems the place has
Well, we've got two things going on there. We've got the art, and then we've also got how things and the poses. But we'll
There's got to be something the
They're
police
the
checking
same thing.
we'll get to something in a minute about art though, because there's a little story to tell about one particular shot. Little,
Oh, yes.
I highly doubt
Oh!
they're around.
Any chance for a last second image submission?
Turning off the light.
Yeah, all right, go for it. But you've got 5
You
seconds.
know what I'm going for.
Oh, the stream's going to disappear for you doing this, so just blame
Shush.
you in advance.
Well, that confirms it. They wiped this place down after Coco's trial. Spike,
Oh,
They also like
I
the
never
light
know
off
where I put
effect.
this.
On it.
It's a good effect.
It is, but this is something that we took from BOJ as well, I think, off the top of my head. In terms of like trying. I know it was part of the plan anyway, but like BOJ has once again shown its R&D potential by showing that lights off stuff can happen. So it's cool.
It's like
It's fun. I don't notice it.
translucent rectangle.
Isn't it part of the scene of the crime?
Translucent
How did they make
rectangle.
that translucent rectangle?
As much as possible.
Huh?
Maybe the theater.
There's a rectangle?
What are you talking about?
I'm so confused.
How does that effect work? How do you do that?
Which would include cleaning schedules, right?
What? Which effect?
Even if that's what was going on.
Someone help
Okay, we gotta
me.
stop the bullying right now. It's spawning multiple copies of the image I'm trying to send. My Discord's ruined.
It's
Oh,
like
you
that
got
test case with Joe.
It's so over.
rather careless for the police to
Right,
allow-
okay.
there we go.
Oh god. Right, when we get to that still, I'll try and download it briefly.
Yeah.
Why do
Well,
you
that's
do
what you
this
were
to me?
referring to, right?
Well, no, I'm talking about... I got one from Shannon. There's another one there that you sent me as well. Also,
Oh, I just thought that we would all be on the same page, since we're all best friends.
turn-in page?
Yeah,
Some return in pay?
We.
He may
No!
be
Who are you?
surprisingly sharp, but I can tell. He's very
You can
I'm
tell
getting
he's still very
dinged.
much a kid. He's a kid. No joke.
Yeah.
I'm surprised about the back room. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think anyone ever commented on it in the original Case 1. Unless I'm mistaken.
They did because it was front and center, because there's the still that will be shown of him looking in there, and that's like a whole thing during Siri's confession. It's very
but
front and center.
But
It is
more-
mentioned, but yeah.
I think right. Okay,
here
we're gonna
it
pause
is.
here. Yeah. Right. Let's first of all, I'll let Shannon go because she technically did the right thing, Soundman, and she sent me an image in advance, and
This
then we
is
will get to it.
right of way with traffic.
Yes. Right.
Yes.
Now it's going to disappear for a second, so apologies everyone whilst I go and correct Soundman's in thingy majiggy. What's the word I'm looking
Yes,
for?
I can
yes.
explain. So, one of the things that kind of slowed down production for 3.3 in specific was we were also going through a kind of reassessment of quality control, specifically with the art assets. So, with the shift from 1920 by 1080 to what was it? 2560 to
60 by
1440?
1440.
Yeah.
Yep.
This meant that some things kind of took a bit to get into practice. One of these things is just the quality of the artwork. For instance, this still in particular had to be redone.
Well,
And I actually did manage to track down the original version of the image. No hate towards the artist. She is very strong, but this was just not a very good still. And so somehow this flew by a lot of the quality control, and then it gets to Soundman and he goes, "What the heck is this?"
Better way to put
is
it.
this,
A
is
better
this
way
where
to
I pick it up? I
in
have
a
better
second.
ways to put it.
I think a better way to put it, rather than just it wasn't a good still, it
Sorry.
just didn't fulfill the need. Because the problem, no, it happens. Like different terminology, but it's important to clarify that like every still that we put into the series does have value. It's just sometimes, and I say this as a leader, I don't communicate very well sometimes. Soundman doesn't communicate very well sometimes. Shannon, I'm sure you've had
What?
moments where you don't communicate. No,
I think at this point I was very focused on other tasks at the time, so
Yeah.
this slipped past me.
yeah, it happens. And I always like to try, at least in these situations, take the position that sometimes, and I should actually get some music up as well whilst this is talking. I like to take the position that accidents happen because A, miscommunication, B, misunderstanding, and C, misalignment of direction. Most people know how to walk forward if you tell them to walk forward, but if you tell them to take 20 paces, they may go to the left, they may go to the right, they may go backwards. You never know. People will interpret something differently. So in the instance of the still that was just mentioned, which for some reason the effect of the stream didn't work very well, it was just a case of, as I said before, like the Swiss cheese model kind of falling apart. It didn't fit the needs, but by no means was it necessarily a case of the still not necessarily meeting what would have been done. It was done to the communication necessary. That doesn't necessarily mean we don't get accidents happen, though. As you mentioned, Shannon, with the change in proportion of like screen, whatever you may call it. What's the term? Resolution. Yeah.
Resolution, we would call it.
You can tell I don't touch art or don't do any creative directing because I am such a layman when it comes to certain terms. When it comes to resolution, I know that there's been a constant battle to sometimes get things in the correct resolution and also to position things where they are in the correct viewpoint from a viewer's perspective. Like, for example, take this still here. You've got Suri front to the left. She's clearly in the frame. The door is at the center. Like, sometimes people have the door slightly lower, so then Suri's hidden more behind the text box, etc., etc. There can be those incidents, but again, communication can sometimes be the biggest problem in that regard. Anyway, that's just the clarity there. Soundman, you are itching to go, so I'll let you go.
I'm wanting to re-clarify some few points. So I submitted a report to this guy on sustainability practices for our project that was like 40 pages long. And it was just a collection of ideas that I've come up with or perceptions that I've had. And one of the things I have is that when you have leadership positions in a team of this scale, you need people in leadership that understand the fundamental aspects of every part of production, or you just can't communicate anything. And where this falls a lot through is I was not an artist for a long time, and G is not an artist. So if we're in a leadership position, how do we even possess the artistic skills or the vocabulary to articulate any problem that we notice? And that's frustrating for us. It's frustrating for the artist when we say, this looks wrong, that part looks wrong, do it again. Well, what about it looks wrong? The composition, the perspective, the proportion, the line weight, the shading. Is it two-tone? Is it single-tone? There's all this vocabulary that you have to learn, and you have to really integrate it by exposing yourself to this whole kind of world. And that takes time. And that's something that I've been trying to do lately. I've been trying to get more into art just for my own enjoyment, but also for the ability to refer to these concepts, and I can point it out more clearly. And I've been doing that with Null after the production of this episode, where I held an entire art review with her, and I was able to concisely convey the thoughts that I had using the appropriate vocabulary. So that's going to help a lot with standardization. Two is I don't want any confusion. I love this still. This is a very good still. It encompasses all the things that I look for when we do art. It has good composition. You see it's not occluded by the text box. There's two focuses. There's Suri, she's looking at the door. Perspective lines up. Everything's proportional. Looks really good.
Oh, sorry. I meant in regards to the
original.
How it looked originally.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then that'll get into the funny image that I want to show, which is sometimes, even though we have the vocabulary, it's just best to give a graphical representation. And what better way than a horrible MS Paint doodle that will give you nightmares?
What's really bad, what I hate, is that as soon as you mentioned this one, Jarvie just DM'd me and I was like, fuck, I should have sent you this. And so I've not only got yours, but I've also got his, which I'll put on the screen, and I didn't even put the transitions on for this correctly, so yay me.
There's a lot of things like this that are very low effort art assets that are very critical to the series. I made a case.
Those are extremely important.
Yeah, there's an animation of what really happened with Case 1, and it's the most terrible thing you've ever seen in your life, because I made it in 40 minutes.
It was great. I remember you working on that.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, go ahead, Cadet, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, as someone who takes commissions, honestly, little doodles like this help so much if we're miscommunicating somewhere. It doesn't matter if the quote unquote quality is there in regards to it. If it conveys the message of what you're trying to explain to someone and helps produce a product that you both are happy with, that's the most important part.
Yeah. It's direct. It's direct, and again, if you lack the vocabulary, it really helps to just literally draw a picture. And that's another point for this artist who did this wonderful still. They possess the translation skills to take that silly doodle and they extrapolated it into something really beautiful. So I'm very happy with this.
And as I say, we get there eventually. And I'm gonna make Connor just cringe, but in software development, there's a phrase called agile, and it's a form of production. It's a form of iteration design. Most people hate agile in practice. They just absolutely abhor it because it doesn't actually work as people want it to. But in this, we've implemented a lot of that kind of mentality of you make something, you get review, you check it, you go back, you check it again, then you release it. But equally, when you've released it, you can go back and change it again if when you get to a next stage in the process, it doesn't work up as well. So the still is a great example. I think it got through art, and then it got to video editing, and then we said, no, it needs to be redone. I'm not sure, though, because you'll have to correct me if I'm wrong, Soundman.
Yes, it got the video editing before we kicked it back.
Yeah, so we don't just sit on something and just go, right, this is done, that's the end of it. James can also attest to the writing. When we write, we do draft 1, draft 2, draft 3, and then we leave it for a little bit, and then about a couple of months later, I'll be like, right, we're doing a 48-hour review before it goes to the VAs, where we look at it again and go, right, what has changed since we first wrote this? And I don't necessarily like calling it agile. I like to actually refer to it as as fountain. My own little terminology. I'm going to start promoting myself here a bit, because I like to present the idea that we produce a central tenant, a central idea, and then it spouts off, and then it fills up little bowls that then dribble down like a fountain does. You know, one of those fancy fountains. But ultimately, we are always reviewing, we're always testing, we're always trying something different, and we're always checking. So yeah, just a little bit of fun fact into the mentality of the production in general. We make errors, we fix errors, and then we get better. And I think that arguably is what sets us apart from a lot of other different productions. Is like, not to say that other productions don't quality assurance, that would be incredibly egotistical to even say or suggest, but we definitely take a lot more time to check and try. And we're trying new stuff now for future episodes, like Soundman alluded to. Splicing is just a whole nother can of fish now.
I'd like to wrap this up because we're going on a long, but I'd also like to say one last thing.
Yeah, right, sure. Shut me up then. I see how it is.
Okay. Shut up. Last thing is ultimately art is just a review process. I really think that anyone who sets out and expects to do something perfect on their first pass is very deluded, regardless of your skill level. It's a review process. You need to go ahead and make mistakes and then look at it and honestly look at it and say, that needs to be fixed. And you need to not hold yourself in contempt for making mistakes. It's part of the process. And so, yeah, this doesn't even just apply to art, just every part of the process. Don't be afraid to make mistakes. Don't even be afraid to let some mistakes slip through, as long as you're always gaining an awareness for what is a mistake.
Absolutely. We're learning as we go along, and that's the great part about this production. We're still all learning. Like, I like the fact that most people look at us with such a critical eye sometimes and say, wow, this is high quality, but we ourselves are like, wow, we're kind of still amateurs in a lot of ways, myself included. I'll happily say that I'm just an amateur in this regard.
We are our own worst critics. Anyway,
It's like reinforcement learning.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. Reinforcements here. Right. Yeah, let's get on, because we are going up to 1 hour and 20 minutes and we still haven't gotten through halfway through the episode. We're so good at this.
I made my way to the dressing room. There were 2 ponies in there. Coco
Before the scene ends, I'd like to spend another 5 minutes talking about automatic line splicing at any point at which I would not be interrupting anyone.
Yes, but I will say that, Shannon, you had an amazing reaction to the background of that shot, because things got edited and there was a berry punch, like a gas face that was put into the gallery.
To be fair, I put that there. But I made 2 versions of the background where one had Barry just like smiling because that's how she looked in case 1. But then I found another vector where she just looked aghast and was just like, I want to throw that in just for fun.
And it stuck.
So I was not expecting to see it in the episode.
So there you go. There's a hidden Easter egg for everyone who didn't spot it. Berry Punch's face is different. And Athena is also the updated rig model as well, if someone goes back and takes a double check. Whoa.
That's what I immediately noticed, just the quality difference.
Right. That's how Suri was able to sneak in.
Now, this is a fun thing. I remember you mentioned this whilst we were watching the render, Soundman. But we get this fun little look at an old asset, and then we suddenly get a sudden
new
shift
asset.
to a new asset. Yeah, here we go.
It's impossible. You can't enforce this level of style consistency without money.
No, and even still, it's not like it really hurts, because it helps, in my opinion anyway, as a viewer. I think a lot of people would agree that having a new still enables you to know what is new, what is old, / new perspective. So it does actually keep it fresh. Also, Webb's delivery of the upside down to me is still hilarious in that line. I don't know why you went so hard, Webb.
Upside down.
But I love it.
Yeah. I guess I shouldn't have jumped to conclusions.
Also, I'm Shadow.
Still,
100% shout out again for your spike impression. Always love it.
It's wonderful.
We still should search the whole room, not just this space in the back.
Now,
I actually got a slightly funny thing with Spike's rig. When I was doing the new poses, since his scales get droopy when he's sad, I made a funny little gif that I'll show at the end of this. But
did you Did you actually send that to me? Because I don't recall seeing it.
No, I didn't. I haven't, but
Can you send it to me?
I'll send it now, but just only share it at the end, please.
A false bottom?
This is unacceptable. I'm so mistreated in this production.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. It's a funny. It's a funny.
600?
Pedestrian 600?
The pedestrian 600. Shush you. This is a really awesome little piece of evidence. So Alicia, the person who designed this, actually got her teacher to help with this because she presented it as a little sort of additional piece that she was doing. And the teacher guided her on how to present this more effectively. But I find it awesome that we have little pieces of evidence and little sort of stills and things like happening, being taken to people's professional / educational academic environments to, well, you know, be critiqued. So we can now officially say that Free is academically approved in the terms of visual arts, because of this one piece of evidence.
After Henny and the Hills debuted, maybe he would have gone out to celebrate? Or
also, I didn't realize this until I watched the episode itself, but damn it, James, why do you have to be so cruel and remind everyone that, well, it wasn't you in this instance who drafted the scene, I don't think, but I'm going to blame you anyway because you're the writer who's here. But, like, why do you have to remind us of this sadness, my guy?
No point in speculating. Look.
I mean, somebody would have said it. Somebody would have had that thought, so we just had to sort of announce it, I suppose.
There's also a list of racers.
Florente. These are all real names, I think, as well.
hey, look, Polly. That one is circled.
Oh, Jared was the one who wrote the maybe Overall was going to propose there.
No, thanks, Jarvie. And then Cruise Control appears. Oh my god, Cruise
It's the
Control.
guy.
It's that guy.
Yeah, Twilight told me all about it. In fact, I think
I've got a whole thing to spiel about that at the end of this episode, but we'll talk about that then.
You're kidding.
I'm 3 cups into this vodka, by the way, so I do apologise if things get a little bit more sloppy going forward.
3 cups into this vodka, you let me know when you want to spend 5 minutes talking about automatic line splicing.
We can do that in scene 3, because I think that's probably the most apt point to discuss it.
That's fine. I will just push Connor's CSXFL talk to scene 4, which was going to be a catch-up scene anyway.
We can also do that in scene 3. There is so much automation that you get.
From who?
That is very close to GitHub, but not quite.
Let me see. Well,
Now,
It's my activation word.
it's quite funny. I didn't realize how long we hold on the evidence for this particular scene. I kind of realized that that's kind of sitting there a bit longer than it probably should have. But I guess there's a lot of detail there that we kind of discuss.
That's gotta be
Yeah.
Meratic.
Yeah, the
You gotta see that there's the KMA.
court record is pretty filled with information there.
The court record is such a nightmare. So I think, Connor, you've always had the position of the Ace Attorney, where they reveal the evidence, then the evidence goes beneath the text box, and then the text box disappears. But so far in the series, we've done text box disappears, and then the evidence graphic disappears. So it's a bit of a break from tradition, if you will.
Currently in detention.
Yeah, I don't think it really matters that much. That's just minutia.
I say we
Oh
should
yeah,
let
it's
the
minutiae, but it's still a funny
Secretary
kind of distinguishing
overall
factor.
planned on going. It's worth
I think
checking
what's
out
more
online.
important is
We
the
might
fact
even
that
run into this
that
cruiser.
scrolling
Then we can
animation
question
of the evidence
who really
swooping in
knows
from the right,
anything.
that's automation. Almost every effect you see
Whoa.
Problem,
is
though.
automation.
Does anyone
There you go.
get there?
So,
There's a JSFL for that.
I don't know.
Aww.
Well, guess we're gonna
There's the
find
sad spot.
out.
Talking of JSFL for a minute, like, how much would you say as a proportion of the episode is JSFL generated now?
Yep. At first
Well,
she put up a
we
bit
don't
of a
generate
fuss,
with JSFL
but that's to
anymore,
be expected.
but
Put her on the front
Thank you. Okay. Fine. Show my lack of understanding of the coding.
Segway!
I felt a bit bad for her.
but to be relevant,
Yeah,
I would say that the
imagine.
only things that need to be
So,
manually
what's the
done
situation?
is like maybe
We found a
for that
flyer
turning
the
off the lights, you'd have to draw a rectangle and then like fill it with black and make it like 30% opacity.
Secretariat Race Corps.
Most of the actions
That's
video
where this
editors
thing
have
was
to
gonna be
do
held?
are just handled by JSFL scripts.
Wouldn't happen
You
to
know,
know where it
sound
is.
even sound effects, screen shaking, evidence,
As a matter of fact, I do.
flashes.
I arrived just in the
Most
nick of
impressive
time.
thing to me is still the ability to transpose a pose and retain lip sync data because all poses are lip synced the same.
Thanks.
I love that.
You're
Yeah.
a lifesaver.
So
think nothing of it.
Video
We're all
editing is
doing
like
this for
commanding
Rarity,
a.
after all.
It's like you're in a spaceship. You have all these different buttons. You gotta. All these different buttons and knobs. You gotta keep flipping.
Yeah.
Now, so we've got the end of scene 2. It's quite a good little bit of tech discussion there. And also, you still use GSFL. So you lied to me, Connor. You still do use GSFL. You say we didn't.
The video editors use GSFL. We don't. We hate it.
Distinctions. He's a video editor, so it still counts. I was still right.
Well, we don't use it for scene generation, which is what you said.
Do you want to make this the point where you make me throw out this horrendously long 24-second video?
Let's vomit about automatic line splicing. So G, you're gonna talk about it, and then you're gonna bring me in as expert character witness. 5 minutes.
Whoa!
3,
Why
2,
did we suddenly
1, go?
I thought we were doing auto-gen scenes, not automatic line. All right, fine. Whatever. So, we've changed up the process after this episode because we realized that everything was just completely kind of messed up when it comes to how takes were selected, who was responsible, and also the time commitment and time sync. Also, because Soundman didn't want to basically spend hours doing what do you call it?
Insanity, listening to the same takes over and over again. For reference, Case 2 has 10,300 voice lines that you have to listen to every take that a voice actor does, which means we listen to 30,000 takes over the course of 2 years.
And
fun.
That, and don't get me wrong, listening to stuff is great, especially when you get randomly like a funny moment or something unique. Cadet, I need to highlight your wonderful what's the term? Inspiration to make a change in a line, but also the fact that you called me out during one of the scripts for such a weird line as well. So
I don't remember when that happened.
I'm not going to say which episode, but in one of the upcoming episodes during one of the there was a funny line that you said sounded very silly, and that was a line that I specifically wrote, and I was like,
and I cringed at it, and I was like, ugh.
No, you didn't cringe. You said that sounds like a very stupid line, and I was like, yeah,
that was me cringing. That was me cringing at it.
But the point is that we can now get to a point where we're like automatically helping people like myself basically do a full splice of an episode. And by splice, we mean selecting takes. There's a lot of terminology that gets thrown around. But the episode, you have to choose which takes to go for first. And then after you choose the takes, they go through all the process of video editing and mastering, etc. So that first step of choosing takes can sometimes take hours. But we've found a way to ensure that, to enable people like myself to basically almost do the whole thing by themselves. I'm not going to do the whole thing by myself anymore because that was actually quite painful trying to do it all. I did it for there's enough episodes, so I did it for 3.5. I'm going to say that I did it for 3.5, where I basically almost did the whole thing by myself except one scene, and there was about over 1,000 lines in that. So you can imagine that, there would be 30, 40 hours of audio just from what I touched alone. That got, done in about 5-6 hours of absolute madness because of some of the stuff that's been put into place by this. It's a lot. I'm not really sure what else I can say because admittedly, I've broken the code like several times since Soundman gave it to me. Soundman said, we literally set it up for me for like 3.5, and Soundman was like, you should be fine now. And then I immediately deleted the whole thing because I was clearing out my online Google Drive. Because for some bizarre reason, I decided to back up the whole application of Adobe. So every single file, even down to like the icon symbols, was backed up in my Google Drive. And I'd spend like 2 hours just deleting the whole thing. But I accidentally deleted some of the automation in the process. So Soundman, please help me. I need assistance with this.
So the wonderful thing is that these splice lines are the backbone for the entire production because they have a computer-generated name. So first scene, S1, underscores our delimiter, and then it's whatever number line it is. It's Z-filled to 3 digits, so it's 001, 002, 051, underscore character name. So from every single voice file, you can determine what scene it comes from, what number line it is within the scene, and who's saying it. And that provides ample information to the scene generator and everything else. And the problem with this is that has to be really specific, because if you have an extra space in there, if you typo something, it's going to destroy everything down the line. So it's automated. This is my own very weird, terrible forced alignment solution. It is just a speech-to-text thing, so it just listens to like the whole hour of audio, and then it dumps it into a giant nonsense sentence with all the timings where things start and stop, and then I have a rolling window that tries to align the voice lines to when they occur in the file. And this can happen up to 80-90% accuracy. I love it. I was very impressed with how this turned out.
Hey G, you know you're showing the scene generator, right?
We'll just double combo it. Who cares?
Oh, yeah.
It's not like we have a time limit.
Well, we just passed it, which means we're on to the next thing, CSXFL, because there's a lot of automation that doesn't get talked about. So Connor, you go ahead and talk about CSXFL.
All right.
Started.
So about 2 years ago, I get a message from Soundman saying, "Hey, did you know that Adobe Animate uses an XML format?" And initially, I just brushed that off and said, "Oh yeah, that's pretty cool." And then about a year ago, the realization hits me is that we can manipulate that, not with JSFL, which is slow because it's a scripting language, which gets executed in Animate. So the reason it's so slow is because every time you take an action in JSFL, it's like you're taking that action manually. So like if you move the playhead on the timeline, it has to render the new frame, which takes so long. So what we're doing right now is we've developed something called CXFL, but later we changed it to CSXFL because initially we wrote it in C++, but we determined that the technical debt of learning C++, well, not me learning it, but Soundman learning it, and the technical debt of creating a UI with C++ was far greater than the debt of just switching our existing work to C#, which is what it's written in right now, which is what you're seeing scrolling on the screen at 1,000 lines a minute. So what's being shown on screen is the scene generator. So basically this is a script which uses the CSXFL framework. So Adobe has their own scripting language, I don't know if this was explained ever, called JSFL, and what it lets you do is take actions in Animate as if like it was a robot using Animate. So you could move the timeline, you could insert a symbol, you could insert a keyframe. It has actions for each of those. So what I did is essentially convert that from a scripting language to a compiled language called C#. So what you could do is write a script that uses it and then compile it. And it's, what, like 1,000 times faster? Before, we were generating scenes with JSFL in, 30 minutes? Now it takes 5 seconds.
One scene would take 40 minutes, and now it takes, like 5 seconds to generate it. And the longest time taken is the disk operations to open and to save.
The actual work done takes about a few milliseconds. It's just the fact that the assets we have are pretty big. We have all these sound effects, we have bunch of graphics, those take up a lot of space, and how Animate stores their file format, it's called FLA. It's basically just a zip file of a bunch of other stuff, which includes the library, it includes a file called DOM document, which basically is a hierarchy of, it has the timelines, it has all the scenes, has all the frames, basically describes what the document is. So by using our new shiny CSXFL, we're able to do a lot more magic that I think is gonna save a lot of time, especially with mastering Soundman.
Oh yeah. Well, one, C# has quickly become my favorite language because it's so wonderful, and I've really been skewed towards compiled languages now because interpreted languages are awful to debug. But I really like the infrastructure that Connor has set up. And it was majorly him that provided the framework. All I did was make the scene generator to stress test it, but he did all the crazy stuff.
Cases.
Yeah, and as we're saying on screen, thank you, Joe, for the test cases. Because he writes test cases so that Connor can rest assured that his stuff passes all the tests. But there's so many wonderful things opened up by this. Like, for mastering, there's no way to get an FLA into Adobe Audition. There's just no way. So what we had to do originally was I would manually sync the scene in Audition based on the render of the FLA. And that's manual work. Terrible. So then I switched to something called Pluralize, which I really, really liked, which using neural networks will generate alignments based on a reference track and based on the higher quality tracks. So then we realign everything that way. But now, thanks to what Connor's done, and the fact that the Adobe Audition SESX file format is itself just an XML file, I've basically just written one XML format to another XML format, and I can just create FLA to SESX, which is what I've done. I've created a thing called XFL to SESX, which just helps with mastering. It just creates the mastering file. No intermediate step necessary. And that cuts down maybe 50 minutes per scene. Which, you know, once we finish this whole series, like, that could be 30, 40 hours saved. The time that we will inherit from all of this work is staggering.
It's scary.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
It is scary, and I've got to give a lot of props to you both for the effort you both put in for this. And I've tried my best, admittedly, in like most situations to highlight that. I don't think anyone can really appreciate it more than the fact that episodes are being released on a monthly basis. So, yeah, thank you both.
Yeah.
It's fun to reminisce about the old scene generator. Oh my gosh.
It used to speak to us.
It did.
I won't get into any form of spirit channeling here, but is there anything else you want to raise up regarding this, or shall we continue?
We'll probably just sprinkle in some anecdotes as we go along. But the only one other thing that I want to highlight is the other most impressive thing that we've done, which was again largely Connor, was version history control. He added it into Animate because again, FLAs are just XFLs, which are just an archive. So using the Git, system, you can just track changes and you can revert changes, and he did that by making a C extension, which he needed the help from the CIA. Networking actually needed the help from CIA documents, but it was excellent.
And that's not a joke. There's a CIA archived document that it's like a Dreamweaver. Adobe has its own coding software called Dreamweaver, and it has a little tiny subnote that says, in order to use C++, you need
the British are back.
I'm gonna give it technical, but C++ does something called name mangling, and that's just incompatible with what Adobe Animate wants.
Name mangling. We could talk about string mangling and how you asked me to write something that would generate 100,000 alphanumerics in a second and compare them to each other to see if they were true.
That was awesome.
That was terrible. We should run away. Just let us sprinkle anecdotes. Just run away.
Yes. Let's move on because we have so much more to talk about.
Yes, especially since we've got a certain someone showing up.
Now, I will say, because I feel like it's fair to say, it may not be noticed by a lot of people. I don't think it was noticed, but the sound for this scene got slightly quieter. You may hear it now that I've pointed out. I only noticed
people have tests that they have to do in real life, and I have minimal amount of time to cooperate with them.
There was that, but I noticed it in the render file only after the fact that the audio file for this scene was a little bit quieter. So if you're wondering why things sound quieter, no, it's not EOJ gaslighting you. It literally is just quieter.
Yeah, I can imagine the turnout would be immense.
We make mistakes. Sometimes.
It's not completely.
Yeah, side note, that typewriter show is also automated.
On a bit of a fun fact, the background was conceptualized by one of our concept artists, Zakura Svensken. That horse-shaped, pony-shaped thing is quite sort of standard to their style. But I never realized that it made it into the final thing. There's also an alicorn, which was slightly zoomed in on now, just above the one that we're focused on. I didn't notice that.
Sorry!
I did not notice that. And that got through every level of the production. I don't know if that was intentional. I don't know who did this background. But,
It went
Julius
through a few hands.
is an alicorn who got in.
It went through a few hands, but ultimately it was Null who did this. It was either Null or Viola. I know Viola worked on this, but I don't know if she did the full thing or Null just did the ponies. Either way.
This is unacceptable, Shannon. Disgraceful, dishonorable. No, it's funny.
Honestly, the horn is like way too far back to be like an alicorn horn. Like
I don't
behind
know.
the ear.
We've got a point is we have what can be described as a B-Tech alicorn in the
It
series
looks like
now.
a party hat.
It
Yeah,
does look like
party
a
hat.
hat. Nah.
B-Tech, is
So-
that Vault Tech? From my
No.
favorite Fallout?
James
Fallout
James
Equestria?
James giggled because he knows what that is, but only British people understand.
Yes!
To answer our questions, really.
Bunny, so am I.
Oh boy, here we go.
It's her!
ASMR woman.
I'm so happy with the concept poses that made them so far. I'm so happy.
Right, I'll leave this to you.
Their child.
Have at it, have at it. Go, be free and talk.
Okay. So, first off, new character, Amber Gleam. First off, I'm really glad to see you guys like her already. Second, shout out to her voice actor. She did a fantastic job. But now to the main point. So, fun fact about Amber is that, let's see, I didn't get a prompt when it should show up, but this was actually the last character Al Javis made for the project before he left. And rest assured, when it shows up on screen, we did get permission from him to have these be shown. But yeah, this is Amber's character art. We wanted to go for a different feel since we didn't want her to be too similar to, let's see, Sugar Stamp and Fair Devotion, but also just not too outlandish to be like, ugh, where'd she come from? But yeah, so having her come to life on screen is just so cool. And Cadet was actually the one responsible for her poses.
Yeah. A lot of the poses. Because the concept art obviously shows like what she would generally wear, what the cutie mark looks like, how the hair looks from different angles and stuff like that. But in terms of the expressions, I was intrigued that the wing for when she puts out her wing like that didn't get like the tilt in the feather. They just sort of were like ta-da forward when they in the final like what's it called rig. Yeah.
And funny enough, this concept art kind of did a bit of a stress test for the riggers, as for the taking pictures one, it's a very good pose. It covers her mouth, however, and we wanted to make sure that she could still be seen while holding the camera. So we had to make a slight adjustment,
right?
So that there were two versions of the pose: one where the camera was lifted, and one where it's lowered enough to where we could actually see her face.
Yeah. That's literally just taking the picture pose is what I had done, but there was like I guess I didn't, I don't know. For some reason, I thought that would just be like an interim pose, like how it was when she first showed up, is literally just taking the picture and then putting it down. Yeah. But that's my bad.
No, you're fine. The riggers, they're very talented. They just need to be reminded every so often that they can have some creativity.
I'm glad that you guys kept the ruffling as well, because that was something that I really was like, I guess sort of pushing for when I was talking about her character in the concept like tab that we have for her. When she's angry, like she starts ruffling the feathers a bit, like in a mad way. It shows up a little bit in this episode from what I remember. And the reason I wanted to sort of show these a bit is because the like shocked face as well with her other wing falling down to the ground. I had a lot of expression with her wing specifically, and I don't know why I was so fixated on that when I was doing the concept art.
Hey, it gives her a lot of character. It gives her a lot of character.
Yeah, it does. With Spitfire, because I also did what is it? She's shown up a little bit in a previous episode, right?
Mm-hmm.
Some of the okay. So I did some of the concepts, or I guess I did poses for her as well. But hers is more stoic, and like she doesn't use her wings as much just because she's presenting more formally in terms of her position and everything. And I wanted this one specifically, the journalist, to be more expressive in that regard. And so I was like, wing poses everywhere. And you guys were like, hold on. A couple without, please. And I'm like, okay, yeah, that's fine. But in terms of showing the entire pose, I wanted to show what isn't shown on screen, because we sort of have like a 3/4 level in terms of where the height of the characters are. We don't fully always see the bottom where their shoes would be. So I was like, the wing does fold down on the bottom of in the concept art, touch the ground and like fall a little bit more.
Horseshoes.
It's great.
Yeah, the horseshoes.
The horseshoes.
Yeah.
Horseshoes. Horseshoe.
Yeah.
No. What I love as well is how ideas have kind of just naturally progressed, in the sense that, you know, as you say, different things from different creators into the final product. I was just looking for something real quick. No, it's good to see the final product kind of come out as it is. But again, kind of highlighting that iterative design aspect. You know, the camera, the mouth shape, all of that. It's just small steps of progress. But Amber came out really well. Though, without trying to diminish the awesome contributions made, I am very excited for future characters.
Oh, yes, indeed. Also, one quick fun fact. Al actually sent me more of the concept art, and it turns out Amber was initially going to show up in Case 2, but showed up here instead.
Yes, the original intention for Amber, I don't know if it was already mentioned, was to basically be a ponified version of Angel Star, which I believe is from the final sort of additional case to the first game.
Yeah, the 5th case.
Yeah. Rise from the Ashes.
Rise from the Ashes, that's it. Which I remember you, James, telling me in advance that like Rise from the Ashes is a whole different can of fish when it comes to the first game, and you weren't wrong, because as soon as I got into the second game,
really, really long.
I got absolutely murdered in the second game.
The first 4 cases all in one is so ridiculously long compared to like the context of like the first game. So it is really short.
The intention for Amber as well was quite interesting, because initially she had a lot more of a how do you say, Woman of the Night vibe, and it was quite an aggressive, for lack of a better term, character choice. I'm happy with the angle we've taken her instead, personally. Not least because it gives her more depth. But I won't lie, some of the other concept arts, which I'm not going to show here, was suspect
Racy.
at best. Yeah,
it was very bold.
it is a particular. It was bait, yeah, quite.
The way Amber is now, she is cool, she is cute, and most importantly, she is sassy.
Mm-hmm. And we should enjoy a little bit more of her sassiness, I'd say, whilst we continue on with the episode.
She carries herself in a good professional way.
Yes, she is a mare of reputation.
No wonder you lawyers.
I also, as you mentioned, Orihime is, or Orihime. I'm not entirely sure of the exact pronunciation of. I've always gone Orihime. Orihime is the voice actress for Amber. An absolutely solid performance. Yeah. Also, the scoring again, custom theme by Jarvi in the background. There is, though, however, one thing. People didn't listen closely enough to that song. I'm not sure why. Really should do. Maybe you should listen to that theme more.
Yeah, pay attention, guys. Jeez.
It'll be on the test.
Hints are in the song.
Sports column. They just aren't my speed.
Did your boss from the paper
I also
send
love
out here?
Spike's naivete in this entire section. It's like, oh yes, little dragon.
Well, someday
I am
you might not mind the kissing so much.
I followed the story my way, and no pony else's. It doesn't matter where they take me.
The thing is that there's also aspects of Amber's character that you can appreciate. There's like so much here. No one's found anything, and I'm sad. I'm not going to say what because that would be too easy. But yeah, do a little bit more in-depth digging, people. Come on. We don't just have overt character traits anymore or hints.
Speaking of,
You know, G, you're so frou-frou fondue, or whatever he says.
It is
That
frou-frou fondue.
Running everything. I did get left out of the limelight for a bit.
Poor Apollo. Does get left out of the limelight.
Extraordinaire at your service.
ooh, extraordinaire, you say? Can I quote you on that?
Sure can.
I'm Apollo Justice.
Running joke entered.
You already know I was an attorney.
Why, yes.
The oldies are... Sometimes you can't beat the oldie but Goldie. Also the badge.
Fair. Fair.
Well, it's only
Devotion.
Apollo.
You said it, kid, not me.
I said it. Yep.
Very astute. Perhaps you may believe I wanted to get a quote from your two other companions.
I do love the soundtrack. But I've made this comment before. There's a later piece. Oh, it's already in the episode. Some part of me was more convinced by having Estella's theme as Amber's theme. Jarvie will utterly disagree with me on that fact, but he's not here, so he can't counter me. He can probably say some aggressive stuff in the chat, but haha, I'm not reading the chat, so sucks to be you.
What?
I suppose I could be here for a myriad of
Gee, if you did that, then it would be adherence to a certain theory.
I'm gonna say what I'm gonna say, and no one can stop me. I've got the permissions in this Discord. Actually, I think Soundman can mute me if I ever got out of hand. So.
Let's find out.
Well, at least
I can.
That apparently Amber may not be tied with a certain someone. I will not say that certain someone because all of you know.
The thing is, you can mute me in Discord, but you can't mute me in the stream because I've got a separate audio channel for my voice, so you can never escape me.
That is pretty funny. I could.
We wouldn't have to deal with him, but
Yeah, I could just server deafen him and draw no attention to it, and then he's like, "Why is no one commentating? Oh no, I have to pull the weight of the entire commentary."
Why is everyone ignoring me?
Why do you hate me?
He hates me.
He hates. This just comment by Amber. It's quite nice to have characters that just kind of, not necessarily yo-yo, but have their motivation, so I would say.
Alrighty then.
Indeed.
Apollo, what do you think?
A quid pro quo.
Quid pro quo. I love quid pro quo.
I never took French.
But something's telling me she knows
Did you not?
she's letting on.
No, I took Latin.
Shannon, you've got French heritage, or am I mistaken?
My
Italian.
mother is French.
There you go. You need to translate everything for us now, then.
Hey! I only took it for 3 years and I'm super rusty.
I took it for 7 years, and I'm even more rusty.
And, well, you gotta give her carte blanche to be our translator. I think you should be more laissez-faire.
No, our French translators, God bless their poor souls, they constantly are like, so what does this term mean? What does this particular joke mean in relation? And I'm like, I'm so sorry that we're making English puns that will make no sense in French. Good luck, have fun. And they put in such a good shift. Shout out to all the French and all the translators as well.
I've seen them in the chat, the French translators. They're actually going like full localization mode and like making French jokes about English jokes.
Yeah.
It's really neat.
Très magnifique. Très magnifique.
Had connections, that sort of thing. Many aspiring racers would love their chance to meet the Wonderbolts and Pony.
The Wonderbolts. Overhyped. Overhyped tripe. But
Why would he be?
who wants to be
He wasn't
Bolts?
a Pegasus, right? From what you've said, he hadn't entered the race. He just came to watch.
Oh, yeah. That's
Now,
right.
we are going to get to a point in the near future. But the joy about this sort of giant background, I can't remember who made it was, as you say, I think it was it Noel or was it Viola who made the background? But there was like the fact that it was so massive, there was some aspect of it. I can't remember what the technical problem was, but it was something along the lines of that they had to either downsize it or they had to do something with it in order to help make that transition at the very beginning and also the back and forth. Because I don't think, at least according to my memory, I don't think we've had a scene yet where the background transitioned from one side to the other. Someone correct me if I'm wrong.
Investigation.
Yeah.
This one has a unique resolution because this is not the courtroom or logic chess.
Specific direction that noted that Apollo was going to turn around. So when giving this out to the concept artists, I made it abundantly clear, this is a panorama. This is a panorama. It was not translated into a panorama, so I had to make that clear to the artists that it's a panorama. It must be a panorama.
Again, communication, the secret ingredient to our secret ingredient soup.
I want to do more interesting things with our backgrounds, because when I heard about this scene, which, God, that would have been like 2.5, when I heard that this was going to be a location, I was like, well, if it's if it's big, we should be able to horizontally pan across it to really convey the width, and that should be interesting. And then in the last episode, there were clouds that moved. Like, small detail, but I really like putting all the small little details that help make it feel bigger.
It does help. Now, I'm always grateful for those. But I'm surprised that this particular piece has caught your fancy.
I might add, at this very racetrack.
Well, even Turnabout Storm had something like this where they pan between two locations. What were you going to say, James?
I was just going to say, we don't actually investigate properly this area, but it kind of reminds me of one of those, those kind of double spread areas where you have to go back and forth. It's really interesting that we've chosen this one to be the first example of that.
There's the frou-frou fondue kind of stuff.
I know by the idea of dating.
I don't quite get the joke myself, but hey.
Well, fondue is a kind of cheese.
Yeah, I'm aware of what fondue means. I do know what fondue means, thank you, Salva. I appreciate that my educational level.
On a stick and you stick it in and it's like a social gathering.
Proof? Moi? Applejack, please. I wouldn't concern myself with chasing gossip. I am
How condescending can I be? I'm just trying to make him feel lesser.
I think you're a little too old to be interested in playground rumors. Still, this can't be a coincidence. Keeps popping up wherever we go.
Estella, 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 Estella. Say that 20 times fast.
Estella, 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 Estella,
That's not fast
Estella,
enough.
Estella.
Faster!
Estella, 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 Estella. Are we at 0 viewers yet?
No. There's still 27 people.
This could be big news.
We're gonna remedy that really quick.
Riffraff.
Riffraff?
Those amateurs.
Street rat.
Street rat.
Damn it!
Deciding to become a journalist or photographer for some inane.
We get along on this team.
They tend to be country mares that can
I don't realize this was a
Unlikely.
crack at poor old, what's her name?
Lot of heart, yeah.
That's it, Lota, yeah.
Lotta heart.
Lota?
Lotta.
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 But the
Lota,
pun is
I always-
lot of heart.
Lot of heart.
None of that really
Lotta,
overall wanted to come here.
Oh, the puns.
Well, he did
Oh,
circle
the
that
puns.
particular name on the flyer.
But I never realised that was a dig at her. And thinking back on it, that one flew right over my head.
Can't believe this.
Yeah.
Does Lotta Hart show up in the Apollo
fan.
trilogy?
No, she doesn't actually.
No, I think the last time he appears is Investigations 2.
Oh, shame. I liked her.
This particular thing was a nightmare because that flash of the perceive effect kind of fell apart during the editing phase, where I think the whole background moved like 3 times, and poor Bruno didn't recognize it in his final render, so I had to catch it at the last minute. But
I was wondering if you could repeat what you just
I also feel sorry.
It's in its own FLA because it uses advanced layers, so it's
Also-
very separate from everything else.
That bracelet icon is AI upscaled.
It's so true. It's Ergonet by 4, right?
Miss Gleam. The thing is,
What? No, it's stable diffusion.
hands.
But did you use Ergonet as the upscaler algorithm?
I used 4x ultra sharp.
Dang it, so close.
The ruffle.
Well, her wings are jiggling.
The ruffle.
There's the ruffle. You could say she's got some
Yeah.
ruffled feathers.
That's why I did it, G! Thank you for pointing
Another
it out!
shot, bartender.
This is me. I'm so intelligent. Pour me a drink, bartender.
Shh.
Oh my god.
I did get a subtle warning from someone just to be watching how much I drink today. But it's fine, we've still got one more scene. Oh, it's all good. Actually, no, we've got 2
So
scenes
it's
technically.
4 per scene? Is that what I'm understanding, G?
Well, it's supposed to be 1 per scene, but because of the lack of mixer, I've kind of been rationing myself a little bit, but not quite. So I'm currently on the 5th, I think.
Look, if your blood isn't 60 proof, you're not doing it right.
I am like 1 pint lighter, so this is I am gonna get to that 60%
Yeah.
eventually.
Meet the demo man.
Ah! You're a devil!
What makes me a
devil.
good director?
I wouldn't be directing if I was a bad one now, would I?
quite soon, I bet.
Everyone says I'm just a bloody one-eyed monster.
Busy. I appreciate you.
Busy. I do love how we tempted the fans with perceive. There's no perceiving case 3. Sorry, everyone. Go home. No perceive.
At all?
I think that's the first swear that's been in this series since case 1 as well. I don't think we had any swearing in case 2.
Over that dinner we've arranged.
What was it?
If it means
Damn it.
It's like
Apollo says,
first
"Damn
turnabout.
it."
Oh!
I don't count that as a swear, and I'm surprised that
don't
everyone
either.
else does, but hey, I guess it is what it
It's
is.
gonna bump you above a G rating in the US. It's gonna-
Athena's a good girl if she doesn't swear.
G rating.
say that was rude,
Ah.
but it was
Ah.
probably also
Ah.
No sense in getting your
Well, it didn't
hair
used to in like the 80s.
Yeah, I remember Back to the
didn't have
Future.
Yeah, they did not care at all.
Yeah.
I wish they'd go back to
It went
that.
from the Hayes Code, I think,
We're here now. We
to the-
officers, the race course.
the current rating system.
Maybe we can find out more about
We need to
overall.
kill the current rating system.
Yeah.
Let's just tear everything down and start over.
Oh, and that's the end of
It's
the
very
scene.
arbitrary.
Oh, no, it isn't the end of the scene, sorry. I'm so bad at this. Can't remember my own episode. I got debated.
Gee, slow down.
Ah! No, we must end the stream now.
So anyway, here's what happens in 3:11. Blah 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 blah.
Blah, 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 blah. Oh, wait, no, don't go to Discord. That will destroy the stream. Don't do that. That's bad. I just spilt a little bit of Fanta and vodka onto my keyboard, so I'm hoping it doesn't blow
I
up in
knew
my
you were gonna
face.
say that at some point, you drunk. You miserable drunk.
I'm not miserable. I'm happy.
You're right,
I'm
you
happy.
wonderful, elated drunk.
I like to think I'm a happy drunk. To be fair, when Third and I went up to UK PonyCon, it was quite a laugh as well. I think... No, you didn't see me
We had
drinking,
a
did you,
little
Cadet?
character. What?
You didn't see me
I
whilst
didn't see you
drinking.
at the convention. No.
No, what I meant is you didn't see me drinking at the convention because Verd and I stayed out until like 2 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, I remember hearing about it the day after, and then you
On
didn't
the
show up
news.
until 1.
Oh, I was...
And I was like, holy crap. I can't take anybody's money because G has the little card reader and key to his section.
It's called artificial demand. Thank you very much. It was all a planned tactic. No. I'm there this year, so I can't. I either have to get absolutely wasted the night before and still walk in at 8 o'clock in the morning, or I have to just not be there the whole of Sunday.
But none of them seem to go through.
Oh, the letter thing. Oh, well, it's not the right scene yet. Boy, howdy, there's so much to say.
Yeah, it's gonna be great. It's coming
We
out.
just got a letter.
Really?
You just got
I would have sent a care package of apple cider every harvest.
All right.
Applejack promoting healthy drinking.
Take a letter to Mr. Wright with everything you
course.
found in Manhattan.
I do love cider, to be fair. I may be a vanilla vodka fan,
You
but
too?
I will walk into a cider.
It's
By
a
the place.
long shot, but if
Cider
this
syrup.
does end up helping the other investigation, maybe our efforts wouldn't have been wasted. But the feeling I got from Amber Gleam, she got
That
away
feeling.
before I had a chance to figure out what she was feeling.
The horrible thing about these like sort of pseudo flashback lines, as well as the marking of them,
Cruise control.
I've only really come to appreciate how nasty it is to go and grab those lines in
What
retrospect.
does she know about him that would make her?
but
tense?
boy.
Oh, don't get me started about grabbing the FLAs.
Welcome to my world, which I've left for you.
Right, that's the end of scene 3.
3.
Don't worry, I haven't lost the ability to count just yet. I'm still relatively in control of
One
my
more
numbers.
scene.
One more
One more
scene.
scene.
One more scene, and then it will completely fly out the window. So yeah, scene 3. There's some technical issues in that, but yeah, happen.
Well,
Any
why
questions?
did you say that? There's technical issues in every scene.
Yeah, I know, but technically there was technical issues that were technically more
Oh, you
technical.
know. Oh, you know. Oh, you know. Oh, you know.
I'm not even going to respond to that. I'm sober enough still to know not to respond to that.
But do you know?
He doesn't know. The fun prodding has begun.
So, any questions from the chat regarding scene 3? I'm going to rely on someone else because I don't want to break everything.
Sky.
We got one question right here. What's your favorite tonic?
I hate gin and tonic. Absolutely hate it. Hate gin.
Okay,
Awful.
got one from JT.
Straight from the horse's mouth.
I'm curious to know who the writers have grown to enjoy writing for more. OC characters that have more creative freedom to write for, or IP characters that add more depth and lore for? So, JT.
Well,
good
during
question.
case 2, I really started to appreciate writing for Athena because, as I've said like a million times, like not a lot has been done with her, and I really enjoyed everyone's reception to like how we treated her. Because I know people really do care a lot for her. Same goes for I think Trucy as well, because the less said about what Trucy does in Dual Destinies, the better. But I think just giving her more like just the subtleties that were in Apollo Justice, but were kind of lost like later on down the line until she had a case all about her in Spirit of Justice. Is I think that's just one thing that I want to do is like for like the characters that are from the IPs to like show different sides to them, but also kind of keep them consistent with who they are. If that makes sense.
As a quick addition, James, your writing for Athena was what pushed me to even try, like, to check out Dual Destinies at all.
I'm glad you got to experience it.
Yeah. And now I have more context for Apollo in this case. I'm like, oh, wow.
Ah, he has character.
I have
No.
context.
It's sad that people don't, I don't really have much to say about her either, but it's a shame that such a bad rap overall concept. Anything else? No?
The OC characters are really fun to write for as well. Not to discredit them.
Yes, James admittedly and tacitly implying during this stream that he hates all our original characters. So shameful. It's
I
too
love
much.
them. Cruise Control is amazing, even though he's technically not ours, but I still love him.
You're not the only one who shares that sentiment. If there's nothing else, let us continue into scene 4. Trials and Salutations, which I know was your choice of a name for this scene.
Yeah, bad puns.
I was gonna say really quick, Julius's like read for this scene was really funny to me, just compared to my sounding logical and very clinical and straightforward. His level of energy is just really nice.
We're trying our best to mimic stuff, but I've been guiding Julius a little bit more, so it's a nice little comparison, for lack of a better term.
Can't help but think I'm still grasping at straws. It doesn't help that our investigation of the landing strip came to nothing. We combed
So much thinking. So much thinking. The thinking effect is a pain, because if you forget about it, oh wow, good luck, have fun going back through the Audacity file. I've done it, I think, 20 times now, where I've just forgotten to apply the thinking effect, and it makes me cry every time.
But you haven't done the dreaded apply it to something that doesn't need it, and now you have to go to the raw file without any markup to find it.
Yeah, true. I haven't done the ultimate failure, but give me 2 episodes and I'm sure you'll hear me complaining.
I believe in you.
automation when?
We already did. It's the automatic line splicing.
What was?
More.
There's the macros. There's nothing else that could be done in Audacity.
I said this to him as well. I was like, can you just not automatically apply the thinking effect to lines yet? And he was like, no, it's 2 macros. Don't give me excuses, give me results.
That figures.
This is like Twin Peaks.
We'll find out why once we enter the courtroom.
It isn't.
Right.
It's no good, G. I don't know the code.
If you don't know the code, we're all screwed. Connor, tell us the code.
Feeling all right?
For what?
And then it's Kowalski and he shrugs.
Come on. I don't need my Magatama to know
Code
you have
is
something on your mind.
Every single line of code from
Public symbol
001.
item. Convert layers to symbol.
Elements at 0 as symbol instance, my beloved.
Dude.
Some glimmer of intuition.
This is gonna be
Casting.
hard.
Guiding me towards what really happened.
It's gonna be hard to
All
write.
I've got is this
Alright, this line, I'm annoyed that we didn't put the Jackson Paddock painting in the background. Really wish we had done that. I'm so pissed off that we didn't, but
Isn't that like a real man's name?
Yes. I think it's different spelling of Paddock, though, because I think Paddock was like pony.
like horse.
Yeah, but
they're all horse puns or gags.
Wait, is that offensive?
No matter how uncertain things seem, that remains the case. And it doesn't matter what any pony else says.
I also love having Julius in a supporting role. It's quite interesting going from primary to secondary, and I'd love to get him on to talk about it a bit more in the future, but I've said this during table reads, and Cadet, you probably attest to this. A lot of the dynamics between characters in these scenes is based around the fact that one plays a particular role, and Phoenix is one of those characters that has to supplement Sonata's mood. As you said, like at the beginning, it's quite distinct between what Phoenix is presenting and what Sonata says as well.
Oh, well,
What is?
we would be remiss if we didn't mention the lad.
The Chad.
Yes!
The Chad himself.
It's the guy.
That's
The guy.
isn't it? And this
There was this is another one of those things. So there was a massive argument, not massive, but like it was a big argument, regarding like putting
There's a
this
civil
guy.
war going on here.
EOJ,
It was
assemble.
4.
It was bigger
But,
than that, G. It was large.
It was humongous. But yeah, there was a bit of a debate about like whether or not having this guy in the in this particular part of the defendant lobby. In the end, we decided to because there was just literally no other place to put the poor bastard. But I'm glad.
Gotta get our clue in somehow.
It parallels well with the painting that I put in mine.
It's the bit.
Yes, in case 2.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was like it works for me. I think it's fine.
Oh yeah, there was a funny theory that like the painting represented who was going to be the prosecutor. Oh god, here we go.
Hello?
This was such a great addition, by the way.
Yeah.
Unnecessary, but completely essential to the episode.
A letter? From my phone?
And poor old Julius's
Here it
delivery in
is.
this was great.
Here it is. Yeah.
What?
How delivery versus me just being like, interesting.
I remember Twilight saying she cast
no, that's
several
pure
spells
Julius
on us
energy
right
if I ever
before we
heard it.
left for one
Very.
party. She must have cast one that would let your phone
I
go
love
to
this
the
game.
mailbox for any
This was also a fun little kind of discussion. Like this whole scene, I think had maybe 3 or 4 like long-term discussion and consequences. The inclusion of the painting, the phone, there's a couple of others, but I can't remember them off the top of my head.
Maybe you should look into getting a replacement.
Ugh, I get enough of this back home.
James sent us a picture before we started this stream of just like, yeah, he does actually have tape on the back of his phone.
Yeah, you can examine the back of his phone because it's evidence in the first case of Apologisters.
That's funny.
It's a massive brick.
This was it. This was another moment. Yeah. Do you want to get through the full letter? Yeah.
No, I don't care. I had to redo this because the original didn't respect page margins and it looked very strange. Although the original had a font that was based on someone's handwriting, which I think is a bit more cooler.
This is very tight.
Did you like the weird monospace on the numbers?
Oh yeah. I wish fonts had better support for weird characters like punctuation or em dashes. I think even Suburga reverts to Arial for some characters.
This is a graphic artist issue that I'm too plebeian to understand, but when it comes to making these types of things, how long did this take, this particular piece?
3 minutes. 3 minutes.
Really?
Yeah, honestly, something like this wouldn't.
Nothing graphic art takes long, unless you've asked something really stupid and then it's going to take 3 weeks. It's either 3 minutes or 3 weeks, no in between.
Yeah.
Gion, I'm so sorry.
Yes, this is just a,
It's like the
a
chess
page
pieces.
image, and then there's a texture.
That
and
took
then-
3 minutes.
Yeah.
The chess pieces had its own accident when we accidentally requested original assets when we already had original assets.
Now you asked me Mood Matrix and I say that's a 3-week deal. You hold your horses there.
Now, what if I asked for 2 weeks?
Well, it's already done, so I don't care anymore.
Hold your little ponies.
Did you know that Overall used to come here with some pony named Stella?
Stella.
In retrospect, I kind of wish instead of just looking at the text again that we had a sequence like the simplified pony style in Big
Like a
Brother Best
visual-
Friend Forever.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it would have been visual and it would have been cute. Instead, we're just kind of stuck staring at text, and
Maybe
no
next
matter how the text is presented,
Maybe next time.
Two
Not that
different types of
interesting.
text.
yeah.
There was some like praise for the fact that we presented the full letter in like pricing form so you can review it.
Just in case.
I'll review you.
Oh.
What am I? 6 out of 10?
Very little, if I'm being honest.
No, you're 100% accuracy. The thing you didn't mention, the funniest
Shush.
thing.
Shut up! No, I'm not even going to deign that with a response.
That's so funny. You shut up.
You shut up.
You mean us?
This comment.
You mean
Or-
sus, right?
It's sus.
About
Susnata?
saving Rainbow. You meant us,
No.
Oh,
Yes.
yes.
She vented. She vented into control room. I haven't played Among Us in a while. I need to play that game again.
nerves, right?
This is a one-mare show, Phoenix.
Yeah, just nerves. Regardless, I suppose we can't really be picky. If
What I
Apollo
kind of
uses
do
it,
enjoy as well is
then
that.
he must
Oh,
think
sorry,
we could
Connor.
use it
She's
somehow.
got the hubes.
Hues. What are the hues?
Hubris.
Hubert Farnsworth. Good news, everyone!
Rainbow.
It's interesting you say hubris, because
She's
I was
so
thinking it was
light,
more
dude.
like a...
Doing okay.
Like she feels like she needs to prove it to Rainbow Dash, which is one of the people or ponies that she's like wronged in the past.
There is
That's
so
so
much I want to
true.
say there.
That was what I
There's-
thought.
It's
Yeah, there's so
In
much I want to
regards
say
to it.
there, but I can't say. But
Because it comes up later, or
I'm not going to
'Cause I
say.
personally have no idea.
Exactly, and we're going to keep note. You can ask me
I'm
questions
saying
later. Yeah,
Oy vey.
you'll
But
get
that's
nothing.
my reasoning behind it, at the very least.
Never.
It's good to hear that there's alternative perspectives on it, but there is a
Everything I
reasoning.
can to
But
get you out of this
if I said it now,
Yeah.
I'm sure I get a very angry DM from Jarvie
Ms.
later.
Dash,
I'm going to get an angry DM
what
from
do I have to
Jarvie
do to
anyway.
prove that?
But I thought you loved to anger him.
Oh god, not me. Please save me from myself. I think I did this line like 20 times. I hated
So like the
it.
TF2 cosmetic?
Voice acting isn't easy, huh?
Well, you call that acting? Wow, you are kind to me, Shannon. That was just me quickly grabbing the line and just going for it. I had to throw like a...
ponies.
I think I threw a jumper over my microphone to try and pad the sound as well. Trying to, like, you know, avoid the reverb.
Classic. Mr. Right.
Yep.
Let's go.
Let's go! Da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da.
Whoa, we finished it.
Oh, hey! Yay!
Hello there! That has nothing to do with the next episode, I promise you. So...
I made that in 1 minute.
You didn't even clear with me that that was going to be the decision.
I went to James. I
Yeah,
cleared it with
You
someone.
did. This is true.
James, why didn't you come to me? Disgraceful behaviour.
I thought it'd been cleared. I thought I was just giving my opinion.
Yeah.
You assume,
Soundman
James.
as assistant director.
Went to James.
Bamboozled James.
Oh, James.
Don't
How
blame
do I tell
James.
you? But yeah, there we go. Scene 4. Not much to say, other than it's really nice to... I don't feel like this is a spoiler. Yes, the next episode is going to include a trial scene. Wow, shock and horror. Oh, but it's nice to get
What
a little
the
defendant
crap?
lobby. I know.
It wasn't
what
just
the
going to be
kerfuffle.
investigations.
I mean, we could just
What
do a
the
whole
crap?
case of investigations if people really wanted us to. No trial. I don't. That would be quite the case. Just full investigation, and then just basically YOLO logic chessing the shit out of someone and being like, "Lamau, you're wrong. Take my pawn, take my knight, take my rook, take my bishop."
Take my
but yeah.
what?
My bishop. You want to have my bishop, Connor?
No, the first thing.
I don't think you can say that.
But yeah, scene 4. Any questions?
When's the next one?
Boo! Get off the stage.
Oh, brother, this guy
stinks. No?
Doesn't look like
There's a very funny comment that just says, no, it's totally just the alicorn from the racetrack.
I think I said this in like this spoiler thread in the Discord, but I'm naming that alicorn fuck the alicorn, because dear God Almighty, the fact that that's slipped past all of us, oh, that makes me cry inside.
Okay, got another one from JTH. I like the changing of physical animation to direct art, like in this scene during the scripting of each episode when it is discussed. When is it discussed? When if a different art style fits a particular scene?
Oh,
I don't think art styles in particular are really discussed during like the writing process. It's more who wants to take on a particular still. I think that's just how it is, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Mm.
It's more ad hoc.
We intend for
than-
the styles to be similar.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, we
obviously
we do aim for a little bit of cohesion.
we try consistency. But yeah, the style, the stills, anything like that, it's usually allocated. People throw in their thing. It's more apparent in BOJ. I think this episode a little bit more diversion from the norm. But again, no harm, no foul. It conveys the message. We are ultimately a pragmatic production. So we like to make sure that the results are ultimately convey the information that need to be conveyed. But it's not usually debated. No, in BOJ it is. Usually in BOJ we like to ensure that the artist on the episode is the one who is able to produce their own style. So that's why you'll usually see a lot of individuality there. But here there is a more set standard usually.
There's a lot more stills to be done, so it can't just all be one person.
It's a still in effect. No, fuck. I'm sorry. I'll leave now. Any other questions? I haven't started any music, but we've got some.
When's the
wonderful
next
music.
one?
Shush you. Go back to the cave of automation and mastering.
Go back to the GitHub.
There's the cat in the background. Hi,
Yeah.
Miriam. Right. Nothing? Cool. To the music we go. To the credits. I also added, what do you call it? Captions. Finally, it took me a little bit to get my head around this. I think I spent 4 hours fighting the fucking subtitles on YouTube because it just hated me. But it's there. So, yeah. Congratulations. All episodes should get the subtitles now.
There are no errors with the credits. No one got miscredited because G looked at it, and that means it's perfect.
Shush. I believe you're the one who controls the document, and you're the one who does the final render, so responsibility lies with those.
I'm the one who yells at people to complete the document, and then trust in them that they're reporting honestly.
That should be
You
in
mean
parentheses.
they trust?
Why did you put that in?
That should be in parentheses. That's not a phrase that is being sung.
Shush. Shush.
What are you doing?
Boy, you girl
Oh my god.
Shush, shush,
I had
shush,
fun
shush.
singing this.
This
I'll
is the
talk about
mania.
that.
Hey, if you go, I'm glad that I get to finally show off my creative spirit. Thank you very much. I'm being judged for my personality. This is
you are
harmful. No. I feel proud of the fact that I nearly timed these perfectly with the song beats as well. Thank you very much. I got judged by Jarvi for the very end of this song, but these are nearly bang on to when the sounds start singing. So, fight me.
It's like
I'll do
Love's
it.
time.
Do it to them.
UKPC.
Yes.
UKPC, let's go.
Fucking main event of UKPC.
I'll
Let's
throw
go. But it's always great to listen. I know that a lot of people want the credits as a standalone video. It's not going to happen until the end of Case 3. I'm sorry, we can't do it. I'm not going to say why, but we can't. So.
FFmpeg.
Oh yeah, this is split up intelligently now, where the actual video is its own video and the captions are overlaid. Because Case 2, every time there was an error, 2-hour-long re-render because it was the whole thing getting re-rendered every time, not just the text.
Yes, standardized. Yeah, two separate things, which progress. And this is the part where Jarvis shouts at me because I put 4 and get into different parts of the thing. Screw you, Jarvis. But yeah, Cinder
That
and
line
MV.
was annoying, I will say, in regards to talking about it with the peeps.
Understandable.
When you're making it. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it makes
Avengers
sense.
Endgame.
It was a
especially-
mouthful.
Yeah.
And then we had to condense it, so. Yeah.
It's small steps, small fights.
Big
small
chungus.
I found it hilarious how people thought that this was happening in present day.
Yes.
It's
Yep. Fucking overall is still alive somehow. Congratulations. No, he's dead. He's very
I
dead.
could make a joke, but I'm not going to.
James.
He's not hanging around, that's for sure.
Not at all.
It's just like that Ace Attorney moment.
Too hard on these new flight suits for us.
That
Also,
Ace Attorney moment.
I can't say I
yeah.
thought I'd be in a
Big shout out to Twin for his debut. Really, really solid cruise control. There's a lot of difference, a lot of subtle difference between Turnabout Storm and Cruise here, and I want people to pick up on more of that, and we try to convey it, but, you know, it is what it is if people don't notice.
Yeah. Also, not gonna lie, when Soundman was doing polishing for the scene and was watching it with me, I got giddy just watching this because I'm like, oh my gosh, it's childhood.
Some who are rather
Casting Cruz was hard because you go back to Turnabout Storm to listen to the originals for some insight, and he is like in-universe misportrayed in his first few occurrences because he's crazy and he's wild and like that's the story element. And then you really have to be like, well, where can I go to get a voice sample from him that isn't either that or him being depressed once he's detained? Like there has to be like maybe 3 minutes of normal cruise control in Turnabout Storm that you have to hunt down and reference.
Unfortunately,
Yeah.
that was during the epilogue.
You got the very end, and you've got like second-hand information from Lenora.
Yeah.
Our best character.
Not to mention, I also had to get his cutie mark from the credits as well, because nowhere in the series itself do you actually see it until the credits. It's crazy.
Which is fun. And cutie marks are a fun aspect of characters.
Yes.
Also,
Fun fact, it's a hot air balloon.
That
yeah,
seems
I didn't realise that. It was good fun.
He's even worse.
No,
I get it because flies.
Well, guess moving on really
he
is
does
for the
cruise
best.
around at the speed of sound.
No idea. After leaving KM,
But yeah, no, it's great to get Cruz back into this. I've got a lot to say
my
about,
life has
like,
finally
as you
started.
already mentioned, though, characters
of
coming
theater,
from old media into
how
new
is everything?
media. You're always going to have a battle of what was supposed to be. And I'm 90% certain that Neo Artemis, if they're watching, if they're still keeping up, probably is confused as all heck what we're doing. But equally, there wasn't too much to work from, question mark, aside from a younger sister, in terms of like character. So
Going to be working on the costumes
it's nice to
alone, are you?
develop and bring you.
I really want to imagine how funny that is, because I think Neo Artemis was friends with the secondary person who did it, and I'm blanking on their name, but I know it was like a friend project, and then they brought in other stuff. But it's got to be funny when you did a fun friend project 10 years ago and it got super big, and you never really let it get to your head. You never did anything secondary. You were kind of free to distance yourself from it, and then you look back and
You'll be telling me is that you're already
I'll characterize ourselves as vultures, and I mean that in a funny way, not in a mean way, but just these weird vultures 10 years later are like hawking around this thing that you did and like expanding it, and it's way bigger than what you did. Like, that's got to be surreal.
Yeah. No, it's valid. I mean, people talk about like sequels to EOJ, and I'm like, no, please don't, because there's no point. I'm just glad that there's more we can drag on it, and I give that as a testament to Neo Artemis, is that you start something, you create a foundation to work from, even if it is, as I mentioned at the beginning of this DC, like it's focused a lot more on the MLP side. It doesn't necessarily make it less useful or less interesting. There's so much ambiguity. Ambigleam moment. There's so much ambiguity that you're able to just develop stuff. Like moments like this, for example, where we've now got two characters, one character that didn't exist in Turnabout Storm, becoming friends, for lack of a better term, with a character from there. There's so much room for growth. And we can only really give credit to Neo Artemis for letting that kind of, maybe credit, but allowing the space to grow. The room to develop. But then again, no one, I think really arguably, we're the only people who are mad enough to even consider 5 cases of content. Also a custom soundtrack playing right now as well.
Yeah. Also, shout out to Perry for Cruz's rig. He did a really good job just translating all the poses and adapting him for this specific base.
It's great, and there's going to be a lot more to come as well.
So I was wondering if you might know something.
What this scene was all... How much do I say about saying too much? That's the
She and Stella
difficulty.
were friends too.
This post-credit scene was to remind people that we are still doing post-credit stuff, admittedly. I remember having a sort of debate with Jarvi about when this was going to be, and I think maybe the whole writing team as well. Like, we needed to get something out, and I really wanted, I really wanted something. And I'm glad that we portrayed this. And ironically enough, this has been a starting point for future post-credit scenes, which James probably can attest to. Things get more interesting as time goes along, but we'll have to get there first.
Oh yes.
Yeah, there's some pretty good ones coming up.
But the custom
Also-
track,
Huge Roderick.
Also, picture! That's so cute.
picture. I'm gonna pause here before it disappears, and I'll hold on this as we finish the episode, because I feel like there's no better place to start than a wonderful picture of 3 ponies. Who they are, only you, the fan, really can. Also,
I
the
think
scene
the one
is
on the right is Estella.
Everyone's a Stella. Oh my days.
Yeah. I think he's still knocking about somewhere. He's alright.
He moved to New Mexico.
Hey.
But there we are. That was episode 3 of Case 3. The post-credit scene as well. I said that at the beginning of the scene, I'd like to talk a bit more about Cruz. I already said most of the stuff I wanted to say anyway. Translating a character from old media into new media is never easy. As I say, preconceived notions. You guys already mentioned about like having characters presented in such a particular way that it's impossible to always get an accurate reading. Twin did an excellent job. I think Twin's performance is bang on what I'd expect for Cruz. And yeah, ultimately, the best thing you can do if you ever come across a situation where you have an old character in a new medium or in a new story, make sure that you always try and adhere to as much as you know, but never be afraid to develop something new. Never be afraid to take them out of the zone. Never feel like you have to stick to what they originally were. And that's something that I really want to show with Cruz, personally. And I know that there are several people within the EOJ team who have a really weirdly strong stakeholder relationship with Cruz as well. I'm looking at you, Maria. But I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to seeing how much I destroy your expectation.
I really hope that we see these two together more often.
These two,
Overall
as
in
in
Cruise, yeah.
Sure.
Sure.
How do we tell him?
How do we tell him? I just want to see more flashbacks. I don't know. They just seem so nice and cute. It's great.
It's tough.
I hate flashbacks.
I love flashbacks.
Flashbacks are tough. There is a lot. And, you know, Shannon, Soundman, James can attest to the fact that there's like 300 pages in the Bible now, which is what we refer to as like the foundation for the story. And like, I've been told by Jarvie, like 40% of that will never be able to be viewable because there's just no time. But I guess it refers back to that earlier point I made about characters and leaving ambiguity. There is like a canon, for lack of a better term, and we may show it, we may not show it, but if we don't, I look forward to seeing what people do to expand upon where we don't show something, to see where they take the ideas. Though that doesn't necessarily answer your question, Cadet, I know, but you know what I'm near enough to a politician that I will not give a direct answer. Question.
It's really interesting how this is something that I've just always kind of noticed is that Turnabout Storm was really like in not trying to insult it, but it was quite simple because it was just a simple case. It was a single case that just sort of happened. And that kind of reminds me of like how the original trilogy of Ace Attorney was, where it was a lot more simplistic, whereas with EOJ it's like we're doing 5 cases and it's a lot more complex. And that kind of reminds me of the, I guess we can call it as it is now, the Apologistus trilogy, where things are a lot more complex just because of the change in writers. And it's just really interesting how, you know, like the official work has kind of been reflected onto the fan works.
Yeah, it is weird. We sometimes forget that we are in that position of a fan work, but we organize and move ourselves in such a way that it feels like a proper production. Proper production. I don't know how it's a difficult one because we're amateurs.
Yeah.
I think no one here is going to be too ashamed to say that we're amateurs. But the difference between an amateur and a professional is ultimately just the fact that they get paid to do this on a regular basis.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
And they're esteemed.
And esteemed. Well, esteemed. Esteemed is a strong word. But it's we do what we can do, and I'm always grateful for everyone. And you know, I've got 5 other people here today who have got skills beyond what I can do. I may be able to manage a project, but I can't draw like Shannon or Cadet. I can't write like James can. I can't edit or function with audio as well as Soundman can, or do automation like Connor can do. So it's great to have just a little bit of technical variety, and it's just always nice to come together with the skill sets we do have to make something wonderful, and try. And you know, ultimately, though, the joyful. This is part of my process in philosophy and creation. A little bit personal here. There is no harm in creating new ideas because ultimately, the pursuit of the new, it can either work or it won't work. And even if the new doesn't ultimately stick to today, you know, even if the old is still the most preferred method, the fact that we've tried to find something or tried to create something new is more important to me than anything else. We try, we pursue an idea, and we bring it into reality. Because this wouldn't exist, let's be frank. You know, Hasbro, Capcom, you know, they may be able to create their own characters, they may be able to do their own stories, but they would never go for something like this. And I do always feel grateful that we're able to bring together two franchises that just never had that opportunity. But also grateful to people who came before us, like Neo Artemis and everyone else who worked on Turnabout Storm. I really should get better at actually recognizing people within that production more, because it wasn't just Neo Artemis alone, and it's something that people do often forget about productions, even us. I'm glad that people don't necessarily associate just me with the production as much, that there's acknowledgement of loads of other people, but yeah, it's a lot of work, a lot of people. And I'm very grateful.
Yeah, I think it's just one of those things that happens with a series, like with MLP. At least, when it started, people just merely just distributed it to Lauren Faust, and with Ace Attorney, Shu Takumi, but there's so many other people that work on these projects. It's unreal.
It is. Yeah. It's scary. And I'm glad for every single one of them. And again, we hope to... I like to imagine that and giving people opportunities. As I said, we've gotten people into university through this series, giving people jobs like myself through this series. And I just hope that loads of people do ultimately gain benefits from it in the long term. I heard someone was going to go, so I'm going to shut up for a bit, let them talk.
I have a thought about something about the writing, and I want to praise it. I'm going to tie this back a little bit to the framework of thinking about this as an extension of Artemis and her project. And again, I'm not trying to dock us too heavily, but when I characterize us as vultures, that really is a risk that you run when you try and restore something that's old, is that it feels compulsory if you're not bringing new ideas to the table. And it can feel like you're just extending something for the recognition that it has already. You see that a lot with a lot of professional media as well. They just revive stuff and they don't bring new ideas to it, and it doesn't seem to respect anything. I was worried that we were, in my perspective, I was feeling like we were treading that line a little bit too closely with Case 2, because it would just meander, and there was no real point. And we know that Case 2 was not written to really set up the bigger story. It was always going to kind of be in isolation, and that was advertised from the writers, and never got your hopes up that Case 2 was going to set off the bigger story. But that's a risk that you run, is that when you don't set up your story, when you're not bringing new ideas to the table, the whole thing feels compulsory, and you can kind of get your feelings waved around like that. But that's why I feel so much faith in this Case 3 and this iteration of the writing, and how we really are trying to jumpstart the series, and we're no longer teasing there's a bigger mystery, it's a big story. We're actually setting up the framework for that by giving information. And the giving of the information is such a breath of fresh air, because it's a great departure from how we used to handle the writing. And I really am so appreciative of the new direction of the writing and the reception that it's had, and both inside and outside the team, that everyone is just... they've recognized that we're finally starting the project, and I swear there's a point to it. There's a story that will eventually be fully communicated, and there'll be morals, there'll be arcs, there'll be all these things that you see in a story.
Heartbreak.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
And
you don't even know.
I'm so happy that we're finally into conveying that. It's not just like a nuclear fusion 30 years away thing. Like, we're gonna get to the mystery 30 years from now, but it's here.
Yeah,
it's now.
It is now. The future is here, old man. No, agreed. And that is in all fairness in all fairness is due in part to your efforts to highlight a lot of the failings in Case 2. You and I both can admit that we've both put in a hell of a shift to try and work on the general story and direction. Hence why you are my assistant director. And, James, Jarvie, Evan, Random, they've taken that direction as well and have made something wonderful each and every time. And then, again, voice actors, artists, editors, everybody puts in a shift. And as you say, I got to kind of piggyback off of what you're saying, because you take all the good words, you bloody...
I'm a good orator.
You yeah, I'll give you that much. There's a lot of heart put in by a lot of different places. People do give a lot of energy. And even in the moments where we doubt, last year was a really good example, where we were just faced with a situation which really should ultimately kill this place. We didn't. We didn't give up, and we still haven't. It's, as you said to me, I don't know if you said it on the stream already, you know, you're in a position where you are the happiest you have been in this production for the past, 5 years? Yeah.
Ever.
And that's a big statement, considering everything that's gone on. For me, I'm still working towards that sense of ultimate happiness, but equally, I'm not stopping trying to get there. I give a lot of thanks to everyone who puts in the time and energy. And like any leader, ultimately, I'm at the behest of everyone who follows. And I'm humble enough to realize that this wouldn't be without a lot of people's hard work. So I'm very grateful for everyone who just tries. But the fact that we're still trying is a testament to our capacity. Is a testament to the fact that we aren't stopping here. And we're going to keep going. We are going to keep going. We have plans. We have an idea. We have our head in, to quote Jack Sparrow. So, sure as fucking heck, we're going to not be like the Black Pearl and fire off into whatever it is, Davy Jones's locker. Damn bastards we are, we're going to keep fighting nonetheless. There you go, you get double the swearing in the period of about 10 seconds. How about ye? Anyone else got any moral/rousing final comments to make before we move into the finale?
I was just going to say it's very interesting that you're talking about, doubt, but also, Soundman feeling the best he's ever been. In this episode in particular, because of what Apollo says, what is faith without doubt?
Exactly.
I think it's very appropriate for you to be mentioning all that.
Good, actually.
It's a very good framework, because when I say I'm the happiest I've ever been on this project, I mean I have felt happier about the project, but that was without a lot of information about the nuance of things, and so that was delusion. And you have to have the self-awareness to separate those two.
That is true. I never read the Bible, the original ideas, up until about 2022. And when I did, the very first thing I said is, what the fuck? So you can ultimately hold a position, but you are horribly misinformed sometimes. And I'm misinformed on a lot of things. As I've said before, I'm not a creative director by nature. I don't know how to draw. I don't know how to edit. I don't know how to do a lot of things, but I rely on a lot of wonderful people in my team leadership to guide me and to give me a good slap on the wrist. Soundman especially is very good at slapping me on the wrist whenever I work in a way that is not particularly cohesive towards our goals. Right. We are nearly 3 hours into this DC. So it's not a 7-hour DC, but it sure as heck is coming up to nearly half of it, and I am 6 cups deep and 1 pint blood down. So I think we should start to begin to plan and wrap up. Again, I'm opening the floor one last time to any questions, any comments, anything else anyone wants to make.
Well, can you at least show the GIF I sent?
Oh, oopsie! I fired off the thanks for watching because you scared me for a second. Let me go and find it real quick. Come on, where is it? There it is. Actually, can I save this? I can only save an image. I can't actually save the thing itself. So, oopsie, it's still disappearing. Yeah, I need it in an actual downloadable format. Sorry, Shannon.
Aw, darn. Oh well.
I will give my best British rendition of what this is. Basically, Spike turns into a mini helicopter and his ears flap so hard that his head basically disappears into the stratosphere. He learns how to fly, but without his wing. Right. Okay. Since there's nothing else that has been requested, let's transition into the end. This has been episode 3 of Case 3. Thank you so much, everyone, for watching. A special thanks once again to Shannon, Connor, James, Soundman, and Cadet for attending today. It's always great to just sort of divulge more history on these episodes. Always great to talk about what they bring to the forefront. Keep an eye on the channel. Keep an eye on the socials. And most importantly, keep an eye out for any further information. You know that we're going to be releasing the content every month. That was the promise. So by now, you should know what the format is when fixed stuff starts to be prepared. But let's transition away. Let's prepare to go. Team, are we all ready for our traditional send-off?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Possibly.
Soundman not responding is pretty par for the course for him, so I'll just accept he is ready.
I'm trying to do some archaeology. That's all I'm going to say. I'm sorry. I was very happy to be here.
Once again, thank you everybody for tuning in to this wonderfully long DC as always. Without further ado, team, on the count of 3.
Yes.
1, 2, 3.
Objection!